Nobody said it was easy. Oh, it's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. Oh, nobody said it would be this hard. Oh, take me back to the start. Coldplay? Oh, dude. Coldplay? Coldplay, but they're, Coldplay, but instead of like a bald guy, it's a guy with hair. How's that? How's that? Is that a good one? Has anybody thought of that yet? Has anybody thought about, like, giving the main singer of Coldplay, what's his fucking name, hair? Or is that, well... Well, I don't know. You probably wouldn't know anything about any of that. Hello, everybody. What's up? I'm gonna eat a funny chocolate before I die. Oh. I got it. Yep. Hello. Sorry. Damn. Temperatures are gonna drop, it says. It says it's 44 outside today. They should kill that guy. What are we playing? Fucking sussy rain. It's time to sussy on my rain. Hey, Cosboy. How am I? Xbox off. Alright, thank you, Rue Valley. You the best, girl. Always a good, honestly, the Rue Valley soundtrack isn't that bad. It's pretty good. Well, I don't think it's bad at all, actually. I think it's pretty good. Okay. So, hello, everybody. How are we doing today? If you didn't know, today is Sunday, which means it's Sussy Rain Day at the current moment. That's kind of what we're working on right now. We're making our way through a theocratic run of Sussy Rain in Rizia. The police are outside at the current moment. I have no idea what the fuck is going on, but they just keep hitting the alarm. They keep hitting the siren in a weird way. Something interesting must be going on, but... it's honestly none of my business. But... I wish I could see this full map. You know, I think if you play Swordland, you can see more of the map than if you played Rizia. Which is really weird. No idea. They're there for me, must be looking for a communist. Well, it could be them. It's inside. They're gonna have to look inside, man. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. They're gonna have to look inside. The call is coming from inside the house. Alright. Where the fuck were we last time? And... let me turn the master volume down just a smidge. Alright. Where were we? I don't remember what turn we were on. Expanding the border, funding the Qualis mine, train 1 support 1 tank, Ramos Taurus University. Deny Rigo Taurus' request for more police, allow Galcondus pilgrims to pass, give Lucita permission to send an intelligence operative to Pales. I remember doing all that. Support for the crown wanes amongst the people. That's chill. Don't really care. What are you? Council meeting at Pale's gas dispute. React to protesters in Monki. Offer assurance to the welfare. Well, is this the welfare protests? This is the okay, so we are at the start of turn 4. Good to know. AKA me! It's me! I finally finished writing the draft for my write-off on Thursday. It is not very good, let me tell you. It is hodgepodge. It is thrown together at the last second. It's really fucking bad. It doesn't occupy nearly enough time to actually get enough points across. It's fucked. I hope the BC goes easy on me. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Regardless, let's focus on the video game. So if you didn't know, we are going for a theocratic Rizia run. And let's find out what that actually looks like. A react to welfare protesters. Hey! Oh, hey, Just a Bug. Have any bugs today? I thought I had a bug. I had a bug earlier today. A buggle. Oh no, the bug that I had today was a piece of plastic. I was moving around the table and somebody was like, "Oh, bug." What if the bugs were inside us, Just a Bug? What if we were made of bugs? You used the word likewise today? Likewise. Very good. A substantial crowd has amassed at the palace tourist gates in Monqi, vocalizing their concerns over the lack of access to higher quality education and healthcare services. Some voicing concerns with increasingly difficult living conditions. The Crown can choose to disperse them, allow their peaceful protest, or offer assurances to improve welfare spending across the nation. We're going to offer the assurances. Promise increased health and education funds. Let's read the news. Lesbia adjusts tariffs on the ATO nations amid protectionist strategy. Lesbia has announced a measured reduction of tariffs on imports from ATO-aligned nations, signaling a step toward liberalization while maintaining protective measures for its domestic sectors. President Walker of Arcasia lauds this decision as a positive move, aligning with the Ventry City Free Trade Committee's push for more open trade policies. Lesbia's strategy illustrates the delicate interplay between fostering global economic partnerships and preserving national industry, a tightrope walk reflective of the broader trend toward cautiously opening markets without sacrificing homegrown economic interests. Blech. I threw up. I'm throwing up. I'm throwing up. Oh, I'm throwing up. I'm eating the throw up. I'm eating the throw up. Dwight Walker re-elected the second term with clear majority. Really? Ventry City. President Dwight Walker has secured re-election with 57% of the national vote, defeating reformist union leader Charles Devereaux in a contest marked by high turnout and growing international tension. The result represented a 12-point increase over Walker's 46 performance and affirms his position as a central figure in Arcasian politics. Indeed. 12 points is not a lot, though. Well, it's kind of a lot. Support for the new Democratic Concord remains strong across the country's industrial and commercial sectors, reflecting continued economic growth under the Walker Plan and steady organization within the ATO. Devereaux, who emerged as opposition leader during Walker's first term, advanced a more state-directed economic vision, but struggled to expand his appeal beyond traditional working-class strongholds. Foreign observers view the outcome as an endorsement of Arcasia's current economic and diplomatic direction, particularly amid increased friction with the Companion Bloc. With the second term confirmed, Walker is expected to continue policies emphasizing liberalization and strategic coordination within the alliance. Unsurprising. Completely unsurprising. Corpse-sized mobile forces, as well as average power projection. Hello, Jinx. What's up? I'm your favorite? Oh, thank you. Clean up after yourself. I'm licking it. Protest at the palace gates. Thousands of protesters gathered outside the Monqi Palace, complaining about the state of our welfare system. After rousing speeches by local community leaders, the crowd slowly started to dissipate, with the protests over by the early of the evening. At least everybody showed up. We can say that much. Let's take a look at the oil deposit discovered in Mav Nordis. Rizian Oil and Gas has confirmed the presence of a small but viable oil deposit near Mav Nordis, with potential for limited commercial extraction. Further assessments are underway to determine feasibility, infrastructure requirements, and economic viability. That's going to be interesting. We'll read the local press, and then we will move on to international press. Easy targets. Shoot them all. Thoughts on oil rigs, easy targets? Yeah! Honestly, not a bad analysis. As part of the mining surveys ordered by the Crown in the region, large coal deposits were discovered underneath Havas. Surveyors delivered the positive result at the palace yesterday as expectations of a new coal mine rise. Let's go global with it. Let's see. Pales and ECST have something for me. Pales to send ship to newly surveyed gas field. We received an urgent briefing that Pales has laid claim to the newly discovered gas field between the Rizian island of Calacbes and Pelesian Peninsula. A ship is currently being outfitted in Ramaz and is set to begin exploratory drilling in the next several days. And condemnation of Ravnos Island militarization by ATO. The CSP unequivocally condemns the recent militarization of Ravnos Island by the ATO. Spearheaded by Lesbia, the expansion of radar anti-air defenses and other military installations by ATO on Ravnos Island represents a provocative escalation in the region. This act not only violates the spirit of regional peace and stability, but also poses a direct threat to the security interests of CSP member nations. We urge the ATO and its allies to reconsider this aggressive posture and commit to diplomatic resolutions to preserve regional peace. Ravnos Island is not in the Marquian Sea. Ravnos Island, I don't think it's anywhere near Rika either. I don't think I can see it on this map. I think it's on the other side of the planet. Nordland. Oh, there's Ravnos. Oh, I see. So it's in the Volgosian Sea. The Antician Islands. Juice. Falengo. Alright. Do not send ships to protect the gas field. Council meeting on the Pales gas dispute. I'd called the council meeting in Fort Ailes to discuss our strategy in Pales' gas dispute. The city was named after its most famous building, a Volgish fortress that now served as the government headquarters for the Pales Administrative District. Titus escorted me down the hallway to a nondescript conference room where Lorenzo, Lucita, Elena, and Hugo were already waiting. My daughter had requested to stay home this time around, claiming she was feeling unwell. I took a seat across from Lucita. My fellow counselors were all poring over various documents. Hugo finally stood up. Good morning, Your Majesty. Should we fill you in on the situation so far? Yes, please. I'll take it from here. As you know, our joint team of researchers recently completed their assessment of the gas field between Pales and Rizia, tentatively nicknamed Arius. The Rizian surveyors determined that the field lay in both Rizian and Pelesian territory. However, a few days after our team's return to port, we received the news that the Pelesians had made a different decision. Duke Reinhardt is now under the impression that the entire gas field belongs to Pales. He's ordered that exploratory drilling begin immediately. Lucita had a worried look on her face. Grilled cheese, Obama, sandwich. Hello, Void. A Pelesian drill ship departed the port of Ramaz at 0800. This morning, it is expected to reach the field by this time tomorrow. Your Majesty, I have advocated for caution regarding Pales in the past, but this strikes me as highly concerning. Pelesians are out of line. I still can't believe the caution is called for. I want to know all the details before we decide on our reaction. I still believe that caution is called for. I share those concerns, Duchess. The Pelesians were out of line to send that ship. A response from Rizia is certainly warranted. I called this meeting today to decide on a course of action. We have a meeting set with Duke Reinhardt in 2 days, by which time the ship will have reached its destination. It is my hope that the Pelesians are still open to negotiating the field's ownership, and that is just a tactic to give an edge. You're getting ahead of yourself, Lorenzo. The king should be informed about the dispute as possible before heading to Pales. I want to know everything I can about the disputed field. Then where should we start, Your Majesty? Why is this a dispute? I thought our maritime borders were clear. They've been shifting over the past century. The late Emperor Valgos used to control the waters between Pales and Callicabes, but this area came into question when the island joined Rizia in 1855. Since then, both Rizia and Pales have variously claimed ownership of these waters and the resources therein. The borders that Rizia recognizes today are the ones defined by the 42 AN Directive on Offshore Resources. According to those, the field should be split almost exactly evenly between our two nations. Ah yes, Andor. A nation that has sovereign right to any undersea gas and oil wells located within 200 kilometers of its coast. And in case of overlap, no one country may exploit those resources without the other's agreement. Are both Pales and Rizia signatories to this directive? Rizia has both signed and ratified Andor. Reinhardt's predecessor signed the directive, but the Duke has yet to ratify it. The Pelesians furthermore state that, as a sparsely populated island, Callicabes should not have the same maritime radius as mainland Rizia. It's fair enough. What are we even using Callicabes for anyway? Its strategic location between the mainland Mercopa and Kairut makes it a very useful port and naval base. We should not forget about the presence of the exiled ex-Duchess Angelica Saison. We know how much gas the field contains. Hello, Lawless. Hello, Lolliot. Oh, you're L? Hello, L. We still don't have the exact numbers, but the surveyors have confirmed that it's a lot. By possibly more than the current natural gas reserves of Rizia and Pales combined. In other words, whichever country controls the Aria's field will become Mercopa's next energy superpower. Does Rizia need the gas from the field? I'll be blunt, Your Majesty. Our existing gas reserves are dwindling. Our expansion of the Esquires field will increase gas production, though access to even half of Arias would yield better results. President Ewald Alfonso was pleased enough with our trade deal that he has hinted at offering us a stake in his own gas company, Gasm. But next year's Swordish elections may jeopardize that offer. Follow up that lead if you can. Yes, I'll keep you posted. Swordish or otherwise, we should really use the gas to bolster our overall energy reserves. And we can't forget about the contract we signed with Rumberg. We're exporting and making good on our energy obligations already. Well, that's enough information. I'm ready to discuss our response. Very well. Lucita raised a hand. Actually, I have some additional information that could influence our response. By all means, Duchess Azaro, get on. She took out a photograph. It showed a number of men in business suits boarding a large vessel. Our intelligence and Pales managed to get a visual on the boat before it departed. This man here is a representative from Less Power, the Lesbian Energy Corporation. Hugo stared at her coldly. I was not informed that we had active intelligence operating in Pales. His Majesty and I made the decision to establish it. You were involved with this, Your Majesty. I thought the Wayland investigation took full precedent. I believe the same, but she convinced me the Pale situation was worth keeping an eye on, and that turned out to be the case. It did, Your Majesty. I would humbly ask my fellow counselors to focus on the content of these findings, not the methods used to obtain them. Actually, I don't understand how this changes anything. We know Pales and Lesbia were in cahoots. I do find it worrying that Lesbia is so heavily involved in this expedition. What this evidence proves is that not Pales alone asserting its claim to the field. Lesbia, and by extension ATO, is after the gas and all the money and power that comes with it. This photo sends a different message to me. Could it be possible that Lesbia pressured Pales into claiming the field and sending the ship? If so, can we use that fact to drive a wedge between the two? Alternatively, we could find a compromise that involves all three of our countries. But then, what happens if Morella and their Volkslandian friends get involved? They won't be happy with an ATO member drilling so far south, and that could lead to the kind of consequences I was warning you about earlier, Majesty. Lorento had a pained expression on his face. I still don't think we should give up on the possibility of negotiation. You establish a rapport with Duke Reinhardt prior to your coronation. Perhaps there's a way to build on that. That will be hard with Lesbia looking over his shoulder, but I will try to be diplomatic. You know how much I respected your father, but with you, I see a chance for a new approach. Shall we discuss our diplomatic options? Are you leaning towards any particular outcome? What if I were to let Pales keep its entire... 50-50 with Pales? Keep the entire field. Given Rizia's current natural gas needs, we should not relinquish our claims on the field without seriously considering the consequences. And don't forget, Miss Werner, what we would lose from ceding the field, we might gain from a closer partnership with Pales and Lesbia. On the other hand, Mr. Esquipel, it will make us look weak, and the foreign powers will jump on the opportunity like vultures. True. My uncle's hand unconsciously formed a fist. Think about how much territory we have relinquished already, how much wealth we've lost because of it. I am certain that if we give up this gas field, the Wesheks will be even more emboldened to keep their grip on Zeal. On the other hand, won't fighting for our rightful part of the field take up resources we should be using to get Zeal back? You do have a point there, Your Majesty. We would have to allocate our funding very carefully. I would welcome any other suggestions from my counselors. Hugo cleared his throat. If I may, Your Majesty. We have still not yet decided what to do about the Pelesian drill ship. We shouldn't immediately interpret the ship as a provocation. This could all be a misunderstanding. Respectively, Your Majesty, the Paulicians' intentions are crystal clear to me. Even if Duke Reinhardt is open to negotiations, he sent this ship to rattle us. My suggestion is to rattle him right back. She spoke slowly, as if thinking out loud. With His Majesty's blessing, the Rizian Navy could surround the field, preventing the drill ship from reaching its destination. Lorento looked up in outrage. Are you in your right mind, young lady? The Navy! We'd be escalating the situation! Hey, Void. It's not an outlandish suggestion. We've already established that Pales is violating international law. We're on the verge of reconciling with Pales after all these years. This would shatter our chances. The Duchess is not talking about sinking the drilling ship, Mr. Esquivel. Lorento looked at her indignantly. A blockade could keep the field clear until His Majesty has had a chance to speak with Duke Reinhardt. If we do end up in arbitration talks, Pales, having established a presence in the Arias field, would give them an unwarranted edge. Even so, the risk of escalation is too high. It doesn't seem worth it. Precisely, Your Majesty. I too am very wary of miring ourselves in another conflict. Yes, sending the Navy would help assert Rizian sovereignty, but are we strong enough to defend ourselves should the Paulicians call our bluff? That is a concern, Your Grace. We have a capable Navy, but we won't be able to outgun Pales if it comes down to that. This is not a decision to take lightly. Do not order a blockade. I agree, and I think we should exercise caution. I will meet with Duke Reinhardt before deciding our next steps. Lorento nodded, relieved. Very good, Your Majesty. I will get everything in order for your next meeting. Our naval forces will be on standby in case you change your mind. I pray to St. Ruig that will not be needed. I'll adjourn the meeting so Mr. Esquivel can get his proper preparations. We'll keep you abreast of any changes prior to departure for Pales. Thank you all for your time. The meeting drew to a close. I spent a sleepless night in Fort Ailes, wondering what would happen when the ship from Pales got to its destination. Oh, look, it's a piece of the puzzle now. The Arias offshore gas field. Is it on the global map? There's Calicobees. It's like here somewhere, or it's off the coast of Calicobees somewhere over here. What a fucking nightmare, dude. Do 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 do. Excuse me. Is that what the offshore drill looks like? That looks so silly. I love the little pieces. For ales. It's for ales, mate. For ales. Yum, ale. Better to have opinions than just a non-thinking drone. Not at the meetings. Not at the meetings. Our plans are measured in decades. Dardian Golconda's communities sheltering the BFF? Internal security forces have informed us that Rizia's Dardian communities may be harboring fugitives from the Bloodish Freedom Front in Wayland. As Victor Schmolak's government cracks down on the separatist movement, an increasing number of Bloods are fleeing to Dardia. And from there to Rizia, via the Salabas Harbor, our security forces will monitor the situation closely as it develops. There are Golcondists among us. Support for the Crown wanes. Opinion figures show a steep drop in public confidence. Civil servants report pushback from communities. And state campaigns are met with indifference or ridicule. There are increasing delays in cooperation from some local opposition leaders who are growing wary of associating too closely with Pale's directives. We will win their hearts back soon. Indeed, I agree. Arcasia secures Pyrrhic victory in South Xena conflict. Really? Arcasia emerges from the South Xena conflict bearing the hallmarks of a Pyrrhic victory. But the toll of war casting long shadows over its future endeavors, the sustained campaign, although successful in reaffirming Arcasia's superpower status, has left a trail of devastation and populace weary of conflict. The implications of this prolonged military engagement extend beyond the immediate theater of war, potentially influencing Arcasia's strategic decisions in regions such as Central Line and Rika, its position within the broader Mercopan geopolitical chessboard. Indeed. Wayland restricts access to the Zeal region. Wayland has reduced travel across to the disputed Zeal region, making it particularly hard for non-Weshik citizens to visit the region. Local officials have cited security and risk of further terror attacks as a reason for temporary measure. Dasnurists. Rumburgian and Weshik are actually huge diaspora in Port Trezon. Damn. Then Lesbian and then Morellan. Interesting. Zeranism. Galkandism is a huge chunk, almost more than Reform Nurity. Holy, brother. Reform movement grows. Send energy to Vendosium. There we go. Confederacy of Vendonism requests support in the uprising. A question of support to the Confederacy of Vendonism? Meeting with Duke. Send energy to Vendonism. I don't think I have enough energy. Oh, I do. With instability in key states of the Confederacy, such as Sultanate of Ragarka, Holy Island of Penguvi, and the Duchy of Tamarind, the situation is rapidly deteriorating. Prince Consort Kabuin Sang Tam leads the effort to maintain monarchic control and suppress the uprising, but their resources are stretched thin. In a request for grace solidarity, Vendonism turns to the Guild for assistance. We shall send an energy. Monkey. Shipments of gas leave for Vendonism. Oh, later, L. The natural gas promised to Vendonism's Prince Consort Kabaun Sang Tam has left the harbor of Monkey, sealing the commitment of our kingdom to international solidarity in the face of great challenges against established fellow monarchies. I wish we had a monarchist international in our day. I mean, I guess that was World War I. Horrible living standards. Couldn't be me. Skill issue. Alright, we sent energy. Give rights of the Arias gas field to Axel in exchange by the entirety of the supply. Agree to all of Axel's demands to fully cut off Lesbia. Mention a marriage with your daughter. Okay, I think I have enough money to do a full purchase. It was my first visit to Pale since becoming king of Rizia. Titus and I stood side by side, peering out the window of the castle of Castle Reinhardt. The Grand Duchy's royal residence was built on the foundations of an ancient palico, one of the stone fortifications that gave Pales its name. Palais. It's pronounced Palais, not Pales. After his coronation, Duke Axel Reinhardt had hired an up-and-coming local architect to expand the old building into a swooping, bulging wood and glass structure that seemed almost alive. The reception room had been moved to the top floor and boasted enormous curved windows with a view of the Palais skyline. Its roaring angular skyscrapers were unlike anything built in Rizia. So this is the Pearl of the Antecedent. Hard to believe all this sprung up in the last few decades alone. Truly a feat, sir. Titus glanced around us. We had been making little headway with the Suomia investigation, by the way. Your cousin's associates have been less than cooperative. Even if they're innocent in the Wayland bombing, I suspect they still have something to hide. Keep up the good work. I'll pass that on. A panel in the wall slid open and a secretary clad in a pastel mini-dress emerged. She motioned for me to enter. Into the breach. To tight, this ought to be quick. Will do, sir. The secretary announced my entrance. I stepped into the room and was greeted by Duke Reinhardt. The Pelesian ruler hadn't aged a day since we last met. He was tall, square-jawed, with looks out of an adventure serial. Damn, the sentence was tough for me. I recalled that the tabloids had nicknamed him Duke Dashing. He maintained eye contact as he bowed to me. Your Majesty, we meet again. Bow. I returned Duke Reinhardt's bow. He spread his arms out wide. How do you like my castle? It's breathtaking. He raised an eyebrow. I wasn't sure about it myself, but when you're the leader of such an advanced economy, there's always pressure to keep up with the times. You know how it is. The secretary left, closing the door behind her. The Duke and I took seats on opposite sides of a wooden conference table. His posture was casual, even as he regarded me with intensity. I'll be honest with you, Your Majesty. I never expected my brother to abdicate. I was perfectly happy, living a life of leisure, coasting off the family fortunes, enjoying the odd celebrity rendezvous. Which celebrities? If I listed them all, we'd never have time for this talk. He looked me in the eye. I know that our expedition may have seemed like an act of aggression, but all we are doing is claiming that what is rightfully ours. Rizia does not dispute your claim in the field. In fact, we're prepared to let you keep it. You are? He raised an eyebrow in suspicion. Let me guess, you want something in return. Buy the entirety of their supply. I agree with all the access demands to cut off Lesbia. Of course I do, Your Grace. You must understand that Palais doesn't owe Rizia anything. By claiming the Arius field, we are merely asserting the sovereignty that your country has disrespected for so long. Please, Your Grace, let's not let the hostility between our families color our present relationship. He sighed. You know, Your Majesty, we Reinhardts have ruled Palais for as long as your family has ruled Rizia. Yes, Palais was part of the Valgos Empire, but we developed our own laws and customs, even our own language. When the Empire fell apart, what were we supposed to do? Simply give up everything we'd built? Regime's end. It was your time. That wasn't your kingdom's decision to make. I heard what it was like back then. Rizia and Morella picked at us like vultures. Goddamn Vogsland trying to provoke a revolution from the sidelines. Lesbia was the only nation willing to support our independence. You should have never been put in that position, Your Grace. My predecessor's aggression was out of line. Thank you for acknowledging that, but it doesn't change anything. I understand why Palais accepted Lesbia's aid, but now that Morella is in league with Vogsland, you could get caught between superpowers. He leaned forward and lowered his voice. I know that. I'm not a fool. But in the meantime, Lesbia needs our gas, and they're promising us a sum that we can hardly refuse. Unless... I'm listening. He spoke his next words very deliberately. I could envision a future where Palais severs its ties with Lesbia in favor of a partnership with Rizia. But as my late cousin Ivar learned the hard way on holiday in the Maltese Islands, one doesn't jump out of a plane without a parachute. Do you understand what I'm saying, Your Majesty? I do. How big of a parachute are we talking about? He blinked in surprise. I didn't think you'd come to the table so quickly, but great. It was always my family's policy not to discuss mummy out loud, so... Duke Reinhardt grabbed the nearest piece of paper and scribbled a number on it. This would buy you the full exploration rights to the Arius field, as we are preparing to grant Lesbia. Cede the field to us and pay what you're asking, and Rizia will have the energy it could ever ask for. I took a look at the numbers he'd written down. An upfront fee, an annual extraction rights payment, and in exchange, a stable annual energy supply from the gas field. It was an extremely large sum, but our treasury could afford it. Seems reasonable. You have a deal, Duke Reinhardt. -8 budget now, 2 budget per turn now, -4 budget per turn in the future, and +8 energy in the future. Agree to all Axel's demands to fully cut off Lesbia. Mention a marriage with your daughter. Really? A boyish smile appeared across his face. Perfect, Your Majesty. Now, if only finding a wife was this easy. Well, I do have a daughter. His lip twitched, and she's a beauty. But let's see how this gas deal goes before we get any closer. The Duke reached beneath the table and pressed an intercom button. Hilda, be a doll and help show His Majesty the way out of the building. Wouldn't want him getting lost. He sat back in his chair and scrutinized me closely. My brother always told me never to reason with a Rizian. But what can I say? I'm an optimist. You're not your brother, and I'm not my father. We can break this cycle. Duke Reinhardt's secretary opened the door. He stood up and gestured for me to do the same. Until next time, King Ramus. Oh, what a big-ass purchase, dude. Dude, hitting that button where you just, like, tank your stats, but, like, purchasing the entire field outright is fucking... It's so satisfying, but so fucked up. I rejoined Titus in the reception room. We followed Hilda through the winding corridor to the front door. We stepped outside into the waning sunlight. He waited until we were out of the building's shadow to speak. How did it go, Your Majesty? One step closer to Pelesian Rizian reunification, Titus. Titus nodded wordlessly. We got into the car and began a long trip back to Port Drazon. Oh, that didn't even make a fucking dent in my budget. Wow. Look at us. Trade deal with Pale. Palais. I keep calling it Pales. It's Palais. The Pale Stream. Rizia Palais to begin drafting gas field rights transfer agreement. Following our discussion with Duke Axel Reinhardt, the economic ministries of the Kingdom of Rizia and the Grand Duchy of Palais are to begin drafting an agreement regarding the Arias gas field. Palais will retain ownership of the field, while Rizia will have exclusive exploration rights. The King and the Grand Duke will have the opportunity to review their agreement in the coming months. Shoot me in the balls, dude. Shoot me in the balls. Alright. Mention a marriage with your daughter. Very funny. Very funny. Very funny. Attend the House of Delegates session and enact workers' rights for everybody. Oh. I don't know if I should do this. The reform movement, spearheaded by Rizian People's Party, is beginning to gain momentum across the nation. Reformist organizations and RPP party members are growing in size, with tens of thousands of citizens turning out in major cities to demand the right to elect their political leaders and participate in shaping Rizian policy. Now we sacrifice your balls? Chop them off. Feed them to the dogs. The Rizian intelligence is closely monitoring these gatherings, reporting concerns that the movement is growing steadily and may continue to escalate. They report that the RPP's call for a new constitution is resonating with the public, and the support for democratic reforms is gradually increasing. Take no immediate action? I'm going to take no immediate action. Well, I'm going to increase surveillance on the reformist movement, actually. I don't think it could hurt. CSP deploys medium-range missiles in the Sonsamia base. Sonsamia. The strategic calculus of East Rica is undergoing a significant transformation as the CSP installs medium-range missiles at its Sonsamia base, amid whispers of potential nuclear capabilities. In a high-stakes exchange, Sonsamia has sanctioned the establishment of this military stronghold in exchange for a lucrative financial aid package denominated in billions of its national currency. This assertive military move by the CSP has stirred the pot of regional geopolitics, inciting concerns among the neighboring nations and international observers about the burgeoning arms race and its implications for the delicate peace in the region. I agree. I agree. Call with Prime Minister Alvarez. Oh, excuse me. Attend the House Delegate session. Rizian People's Party leader Manas Sezon has invited the king to attend a session of the House of Delegates. He's slated to propose what he calls a landmark proposal regarding the rights of workers. Attend the session and enact workers' rights for all. I like where this is going. Call with Prime Minister Alvarez. We'll do the call, and then we can start enacting decrees, just in case I forget any. You are excused. It's been a week since my meeting with Duke Reinhardt in Palais. I had signed an official document ceding ownership of the Arias gas field to the Grand Duchy of Palais. Elena and the Palesian economic minister were busy drawing up our deal to purchase the exploration rights. In the meantime, lesbian Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez had contacted Lorento asking to speak with me. I was spending the week at my palace in Monquis. Lorento visited to brief me ahead of the phone call. He stepped in front of my desk and bowed. Good afternoon, Your Majesty. I trust you are well, Mr. Esquivel. Well enough, though I must say I am worried by the increasing tensions in southern Mercopa. We can expect improved relations with Palais now that we're on the verge of a gas deal. Furthermore, Morella and Derdia have expressed interest in purchasing energy from us. However, we mustn't forget about Wayland. My requests for an updated timeline on the Zeal handover have been repeatedly ignored. I'll do my best to diffuse tensions. Just call me Ramos the Diffuser. He smiled wryly. It's not entirely up to you. I hope the upcoming Alliance of Nations session in South Mercopa will provide us with some clarity. For now, though, we have Prime Minister Alvarez to worry about. What do you think he's calling? Well, he can't be happy that Palais has reneged on its gas deal. His country's energy demands have skyrocketed since joining ATO. I've heard rumors of massive new infrastructure investments, naturally involving the Prime Minister's own construction company, Alvarez Industries. And there's the matter of our shared interests in the Miftian International Trade Zone. He must also be aware of Morella's nationalization intentions. And that'll be all. I'm ready for the phone call. Very good, Your Majesty. I'll meet you afterwards for a debriefing. An assistant brought in the blue telephone that was used for calls with heads of state. At 3:01 p.m. it rang. Good afternoon, King Ramos. This is Patricio Alvarez. How are you, Mr. Alvarez?
I'll be honest with you, Your Majesty, it was a lot better a week ago. I heard him swallow on the other end of the line. Our deal with Reinhardt was a year in the making, and 1 hour with you is enough to make the Duke of Palais have a sudden change of heart. What happened, Your Majesty? The truth is that Palais has always shared a closer affinity with Rizia than Lesbia. I may be new at this Prime Minister thing, but I know when someone is making a business mistake. Shelling out more natural gas than you need while Waylon is still treading all over you? Rizia's energy needs are greater than you presume. Are you building nuclear weapons? I don't think so. I'll tell you what. I've been following the situation in Zeal. Seems to me like you could use help with this debacle. Not that it's your business, but yes, I am growing concerned about the timely return of the region. As you should be. He's a slippery man, Schmolak. You won't get your territory back unless you tighten your grip on him. How do you propose we do that? Of course, Lesbia can't interfere directly, but we can provide assistance from the sidelines. By speaking up on your behalf at the upcoming AN session, for example. Having Lesbia on our side would hurt our chances with Waylon, not help them. We're not close to the idea, but I want to know more about what you have in mind. Let me help you with a brilliant and mutually beneficial idea. Cancel on Palais, allow Lesbia to go through with our planned purchase, and we'll sell you 25% of the gas rights. Makes you think Duke Reinhardt would still sell to you after offering the field to me. He doesn't have an alternative, does he? Reinhardt's practically a teenager. Turning to you is his version of a tantrum. Let me guess, he's talked you into paying for the infrastructure. All that money gone, for results you won't see for years, if at all. Eventually, Reinhardt will come back to us. I'm just trying to make sure Rizia is not left with nothing when he does. We'd get less gas from the field, but the pipeline would be free. You got it. And if Arias turns out to be a dud after all, you won't have lost a cent. But it's up to you. Keep your deal if you believe that's what's best for the country. I do appreciate the offer, but my answer is no. Fair enough, Your Majesty. I'll see you in Kairut. Thank you for the call, Mr. Prime Minister. Line dropped. I sat in my office as daylight faded, wondering if I'd made the right decision. Well, yeah, man. We're not gonna make that deal. Why the fuck would we ever make that deal? Rizia and Palais reach peaceful gas agreement. The royal government of Rizia announced today that, following private talks between His Majesty King Ramus and Duke Axel Reinhardt, an agreement has been reached with the Grand Duchy of Palais over disputed Arias gas field, marking a decisive victory for diplomacy and regional stability. Oh, wow. Illustrating the power of peaceful negotiation. The exact nature of the agreement is not yet known. What is certain is that what could have turned into a nasty dispute between our two nations has resolved with typical tourist grace. Let me clean my glasses. I can't see, dude. I can't see anything. I can't see, mate. Me fucking eyes. Alright. Royal Herald? Royal Herald? Holy shit, 4 of these fucking things. Arcasia extends aid to impoverished free cities. Oh! Responding to a plea from Divine Spectre Andre, Arcasia has embarked on a foreign aid mission to the economically beleaguered Holy Federation of Free Cities. Earmarking, I don't think I've ever read on the Holy Federation of Free Cities. Formerly recognized as the Holy Federation of Free Cities of the Faz and the Nufaz, constitutes a federation of theocratic city-states. Its governmental operations are directed from Jithias by the Divan, an elected council composed of Dasnurist religious leaders. The country doesn't possess a singular head of state. Instead, it is typically represented by a divine speaker, chosen by the divine. The present divine speaker is Andre, and Jathias is the capital city. Jatlas. Although the Dasnurist Sanctuary's authority in Jatlas has its roots in early Nurity, it was only in 1921 through the Ware City Treaty that the Free Cities emerged as an independent state. This evolution can also be traced back to the Holy League, which governed the region of present-day Sault-Mémoire between the 17th and 19th centuries. The chaotic aftermath of the 19th century Meridian Wars, which fragmented the Republic of Meridia into warring factions, the coastal region of Faz proclaimed its independence assisted by the Holy League. Faz emerged victorious from a brutal independence war. However, the Holy League disbanded due to religious discord within 2 years. This dissolution led to the Dasnurist Brotherhood gaining supremacy and unifying the numerous small states that had declared independence in Faz and along the Faz Grand Canyon under a single government. The Free Cities are governed by a unique theocratic system. Each city-state is managed by an elected council of local religious leaders who enjoy significant autonomy, even though the country operates as a dastardous theocracy. It's home to millions of individuals adhering to various faiths and implements an open border policy. The Free Cities and Arcasia share close ties since the inception of the former, with Arcasia considered its closest ally. However, the Free Cities' primary adversary is the Nourish Republic of Dardia. Known for its robust economy and commendable civil rights record, the Free Cities nonetheless experience restricted political freedoms. 6 of Neridi's 12 holy cities are situated within the Free Cities, transferring the region into a hub for the Dasnur's faith. The Free Cities attract millions of tourists annually due to their rich religious and cultural significance. It's a member of the ATO and the Organization for Mercopan Economic Development, and is part of the Alliance of Nations. Oh, I didn't know that. Beleaguered Holy Federation of Free Cities earmarking substantial resources for food security and industrial aid. The move, which sees the provision of critical textile machinery, is a calculated attempt to alleviate the Federation's economic distress while subtly countering the influence of neighboring powers Dardia and Morella. Arcasia assistance is poised to not only address immediate humanitarian needs, but also to forge a strategic ally in a region fraught with economic uncertainty and political maneuvering. Damn. Damn. The Free Cities, I think, are that fuck-ass strip of land. Yeah, right there. This fuck-ass strip of land right here, dude. OMEC reports decline in East Mercopan economic integration. The Organization for Mercopan Economic Development has released a report revealing a 3.5% decline in trade volume across East Mercopa. Oof! Originally forecasting 4% growth. Wow! OMEC's revised figures highlight the impact of disrupted supply lines and ongoing geopolitical instability. East Mercopa's economic integration rate has slowed to 1.2%, a significant drop from last year's 2.5%. The report reflects the mounting difficulties faced by regional economies as they contend with uncertainty and shifting trade alliances and a rapidly changing landscape. Yeah, I'll say. Rizia and Palais reach agreement on gas field. A gas dispute between the nations of Rizia and Palais have been narrowly avoided, sources tell Geopolitico. Political experts feared a clash when Rizia challenged the Grand Duchy's claim on the newly discovered undersea gas field known as Arias. However, during a private meeting between Rizia's monarch King Ramos Torres and Pelesian leader Duke Axel Reinhardt, the leaders were apparently able to reach a deal without the need for third-party arbitration. There has obviously been no love lost between the Kingdom of Rizia and the Grand Duchy of Palais, since the former's failed campaign to retake the latter by military force 30 years ago. The gas field negotiations may signify a new, more peaceful directions for the two neighbors. How was my weekend? I was working, but it was a little stressful because I've been writing my draft for my coverage, my lead-off on the 1934 Minneapolis Teamsters general strike, or Teamster strike. I'm going to be giving a speech on it on Thursday. So I finally wrote the draft out. I shot it to one of my comrades to take a look over to see if it's, like, okay. And we'll see when they get back to me. All eyes on South Mercopa at upcoming AN session. The Alliance of Nations will dedicate a full day to South Mercopa and its upcoming session, signaling the region's growing importance on the global stage. With its vast resources, gold, oil, and gas, South Mercopa has attracted significant geopolitical and economic interest. Another speech is scary. I mean, it's taking me a while, but I'm slowly getting more and more used to actually speaking in front of people. You know, I'm still not used to it a lot. I feel very fortunate that I've found myself in a situation in my current life where I am talking so much. I'm talking on stream, which is helping me speak clearly, you know? I'm currently organizing a little workers organization at work, which is helping me, like, learn to facilitate and talk to workers like that. And then I'm part of, like, a political party, which is helping me focus on, like, theoretical and, like, oratory skills. So I'm like primed in a position right now in my life to become an orator. It's fucking with me. Pretty crazily. I mean, I wanted to become a public speaker when I was younger, because the job just seemed really easy. You get up there and you talk about a topic for like an hour and a half, and then you don't have to do a speech for the rest of the year. You know, you don't have to do anything else. But, you know, public speaking is probably one of the toughest things a human being can do. The session, scheduled for later this month, provides a platform for dialogue as tensions persist among Rizia, Waylon, Pales, Lesbia, Morella, and Dardia. Interesting. Alliance President Nines is expected to focus on mediating disputes and fostering multilateral cooperation to address the challenges and opportunities facing the region. Visiting the House of Delegates. An evening conversation with Queen Mother Estelle. Attend the House of Delegates session and enact workers' rights for all. I walked down the palm tree-lined path that connected Palais Resna to the nearby House of Delegates. In contrast to the ornate palace, the house was essentially a plain concrete box. Its stripped-down appearance reflected its hurried construction. The only adornment was the phrase chiseled above the entrance, Ex Popula Risati, to the Rizian people. I made my way down the hall to the meeting room. Hugo rose to greet me as I entered the empty chamber. We took our seats atop the raised wooden platform in the center of the room. Directly below the platform were two podiums, one for each speaker. Wooden benches for the delegates were arranged in a circle around us. Welcome, Your Majesty. Talking, the hardest task a human can do? Yeah. I mean, in front of other people, though. It's one thing to talk to another person. It's a different to talk, like, in front of them, you know? Welcome, Your Majesty. Good morning, Your Grace. The delegates will be on their best behavior with you here today. The Suzerain boy might even keep his speeches to under an hour. Based on what I saw at Salabas, I doubt it. His speech there seemed to have done a number on your daughter. Rebuilding relations with House Suzerain is a sound strategy, but we mustn't allow them to get too close to the throne. The clock struck 10 and the delegates filed in. Each wore a satin sash in the traditional color of his or her province, red for the Imperii, blue for Valenquiris, yellow for Cadres Monteclar, and green for Brennus. Next came the speakers. House leader Daria Darava walked out in a well-tailored crimson suit. She had a brisk gait and impeccable posture. The other delegates practically held their breath as they waited for her to take her place. He said she's a loyalist. Quite right. In all the sessions I've attended, she has never made a decision that didn't align with the interests of the noble houses. I noted the approving tone in his voice as he spoke of her. Next came Manus Sazal, clad in a black suit with a forest green silk tie. He waved to his fellow delegates, then to me. Especially if it's people you don't know. Hello, tester dummy. What game? What's this game? This is Suzerain. Wave back at him. I returned his wave. He smiled as he took his place. Daria picked up a golden bell and rang it once. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to call this meeting of the House of Delegates to order. Today we are humbled by the presence of His Majesty King Ramus, long may he reign. A few cries of long may he reign echoed among the delegates, particularly those in red and blue sashes. I'm here to serve you, esteemed delegates. I look forward to your recommendations. She smiled and continued. The Rizian People's Party has prepared a proposal that Mr. Sazal will submit before the delegates and His Majesty. The delegates will vote on whether to accept or reject it, but this is a non-binding recommendation. The ultimate authority rests with the King and the Royal Council. She flipped open a binder. It's a cool name, yeah. Today's session is regarding the Rizian Workers' Protection Act. Mr. Sazan, would you like to explain more? Gladly, Madam Speaker. The past 2 decades have seen a marked increase in workplace accidents, particularly in the sectors of mining and manufacturing. The experts have consulted have pinpointed several factors responsible for the rise, chief among them a shortage of skilled labor and growing pressure from our trading partners. Simply put, our corporations have been cutting corners at the expense of human health and safety. Our industry's continued reliance on guest workers who are paid and trained less than their native Rizian counterparts is exacerbating the problem. Now, our cross-industry coalition of employees and guest workers have bravely approached the Rizian People's Party with a list of requests to convey to our fellow delegates as well as His Majesty. Among these are standardized workplace safety protocols, upgraded protective equipment, benefits for those injured on the job, and regular site inspections by state authorities. And of course, financial penalties for corporations that fail to meet these requirements. Madam Speaker, Your Majesty, surely you agree on the urgency of this proposition. Rizia's great industries will not flourish as long as our workers are suffering. I looked to Hugo. So Rusty was right. The RPP took up the workers' cause. You're under no obligation to Mr. Montaro, but I would consider the cost of this proposal before saying yes to it. I suddenly realized the hall had gone quiet. Shall I continue? Please go on. I didn't mean to interrupt. Manus cleared his throat. As I was saying, my party and I believe that healthier workers will lead to a more prosperous society. What we invest in these measures now will pay off tenfold in the long run. Daria sharply knocked on her podium. All eyes turned to her. Forgive me, your majesty, but I cannot let my opponent continue with these lies. Manus reluctantly took a step back. Of course, my party believes that worker safety is paramount, but the regulations that have been suggested today amount to overkill. The business owners in my circles, most of whose companies span generations, cannot simply transform their practices at the whim of the government. Furthermore, they already see employee safety as their responsibility. Shifting that responsibility to the government will do nothing to protect those at risk. It will, however, stifle our economic growth and decrease our viability in the global arena. If our businesses are to remain competitive, it is wiser to incentivize good safety practices than to punish their absence. Madam Speaker, you're on the board of a construction company yourself. Would you ever advise that it voluntarily undertake the measures we're describing? Daria brushed off the comment. My point stands. We should not be spending our wealth from the Aria's gas field acquisition before we have even earned it. Our forces should be on to bolstering our businesses, not meddling in the affairs of our corporations. From near the front came the sound of a single person applauding. I looked towards the source. Rusty was standing in the back of the gallery, dressed in his usual plaid. He nodded at me as he kept clapping. Behind him, leaning against the wall, were two of the Arcasian guards I'd seen him Brone as. I turned towards Hugo again. This is going to be a problem. I can't say I'm happy to see Mr. Montaro in these halls, but I presume he is on the side of the RNC. The most he'll do is further expound on the impracticalities of Mr. Suzerain's proposal. Hello, honey love. Rusty had stopped clapping now. He was scrutinizing me closely, a gleam in his eyes. How nice of you to join us, Mr. Montaro. Do you have any words on the topic of hand? Call me Rusty, Madam Speaker, and as a matter of fact, I do. Rusty ambled down the aisle of the chamber. He came to a stop between the two speaker podiums. Now, I won't take up too much of your time. The Baroness of Qualo summed up things pretty well. But I wanted to offer my point of view as a humble business owner of common birth. Now, the Rizian Standard Dictionary defines gold as a yellow precious metal used in jewelry and to guarantee the value of currencies. I stayed silent as he continued. But in Rizia, it's so much more. Commoners who have never even touched a ducat still feel proud to live on shores of gold, as we sing. But our shores would never have been golden in the first place if our monarchs had listened to the naysayers like Mr. Suzerain here. Your Majesty, your predecessors knew that there can be no prosperity without hard work. Our grit and determination today fills the nation's coffers tomorrow. But where does that grit go when the government's got our hands tied? How can we function as a company when you folks don't trust us to take care of our own people? If I may ask, sir, how exactly would our proposal tie your hands? What's so difficult about regulating safety in gold mines? Don't play dumb, kid. You know each mine site in Rizia is as unique as a birthmark on our Archpriest of Dare's behind. Have I heard of it? I have not, honey love. Scandalized chatter broke out amongst the delegates. Daria banged her gavel for silence. Point is, there is no one-size-fits-all protocol for regulating what we do. The environment, the ore density, the tech behind being used, it all varies, even within parts of the same mine. We're doing our best to keep our workers safe on the job, but we also want them to go home with healthy paychecks. Your Majesty, esteemed delegates, if we're forced to develop specialized protocols for every single nook and cranny of our business, we'll end up millions in the hole. Who even knows if anyone will be safer for it? That does seem much more complicated than Mr. Suzerain made it out to be. Yes, well, he's a noble. Sooner or later, he's got to butt heads with the way the world really works. The views of the nobility are hardly germane to this discussion. A quiet look of annoyance flashed across Daria's face. Mr. Montaro, I assume you are here as a representative of RRG as well as Rizia's business community as a whole. Is it safe to say that your fellow executives share your opinion on the RPP's proposal? Rusty grinned toothily. Oh, it's very safe to say that. Although it does strike me that your opponent's proposal could be implemented in, say, the construction industry without too much difficulty. Daria's grip on her podium tightened. Rusty stroked his trimmed foe thoughtfully. Come to think of it, I won't presume to speak up for the people in Madam Speaker's high and mighty circles. I'm the only one who cared enough to show up today, right? So here's another thought. You regulate Rizian industry however you want, but maybe, just maybe, you think about making an exception for old Rusty? Manus drew a hand across his brow. Our proposal is to stand does not allow for exceptions. The king may alter it as he sees fit, but the RPP refuses to do so. I don't agree with Mr. Montaro's argument one bit. It doesn't make sense to regulate some industries and not others. Daria nodded energetically. No, it does not. Rizia's other major corporations, run by families with much longer and illustrious histories than that of Mr. Montaro here, should not be punished simply because they do not happen to produce gold. Does my life feel useless, Honeylove? No. Not mine. Sorry. Does yours? I'm sorry to hear that. If you do. I heard whispers of agreement from several other RNC members that you would refer to these perfectly reasonable suggestions. Yours does? I'm sorry to hear that, Honeylove. As a punishment is indicative of where your loyalties lie, Madam Speaker. Hugo calmly spoke up. The time for a vote is drawing close. To be clear, Mr. Suzerain, you do not wish to amend your proposal to take into account Mr. Montero's comments? I do not, Your Grace. The King may choose to accept or ignore them at will. Then you have the floor, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Your Grace. As a reminder to you and His Majesty, this vote serves to demonstrate the opinions of the Rizian populace and its non-binding recommendation. All those in favor of the RPP's worker safety protocol, raise your hands. About a quarter of the delegates, mostly those in green sashes, put a hand in the air. Those in favor of encouraging Rizian businesses, all businesses, to develop and enforce their own safety protocols on a voluntary basis. The rest of the delegates, an overwhelming majority, raised their hands. It's because your classmates and teachers just say shut up, and I only have one friend right now. So I just stay in your room? Oh, I'm sorry, Honeylove. That's rough. Yeah, school is no fun. I mean, school is no fun if you aren't in a lot of the other social circles. The delegates have an official recommendation. Rather than introduce sweeping and expensive labor reforms, Rizia should entrust the matter of safety to its business owners. Hugo nodded. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The final decision is now in the hands of His Majesty King Ramus. Will you accept or overrule the delegate's recommendation? I'd like to confer with my Grand Vizier. Of course. We turned away from the delegates and spoke in low voices. What do you think about Rusty's exception idea? Could I decide to be exempt from the RRG from new regulations? You're the king. Of course you can. It would save the kingdom money, it would send Mr. Montaro over the moon, and it would partly placate the complainers in the RPP. However, it would have a significant effect on Rizia's other corporations, many of which are owned by nobles such as Baroness de Rava and her constituents. Here's what I've decided. Everyone in the room went silent as they awaited my next word. House of Delegates and enact the workers' rights for all. I overrule the recommendation. The safety measures suggested by the RPP will be implemented in all industries with no exceptions. Rusty glared at me, but said nothing. Madam Speaker, let the record show that the king has overridden the House majority. Noted, Your Grace. Daria made a note in her binder, then looked up at Hugo and myself. If she was bothered by my decision, her face didn't show it. Once again, I thank His Majesty for blessing us with his presence today. Grand Vizier Hugo Torres for presiding over the session. An honor as usual, Madam Speaker. My fellow delegates and esteemed guests, this meeting is now adjourned. Any follow-up questions will be addressed in future sittings. She rang the bell again and the room began to empty out. As the guards escorted me and Hugo toward the exit, I noticed Rusty still standing in the hall with his arms folded. For what it's worth, you made a good case. Much obliged, Your Majesty. No hard feelings. We'll get to work on those regulations straight away, but I wasn't kidding about our gold output suffering. At least the new mining callus will keep us in the black, just about. I've got to head out, spread the bad news. See you real soon, Your Majesty. Your Grace. He bowed to me, then jauntily straightened up and walked to the door. Hugo shook his head with disdain. You were right not to grant him an exception. That man's ego does not need any further inflation. Still curious how he found out the day's session was taking place. It would be most unlike Speaker of De Rava to inform him. As we stepped outside the House of Delegates, I saw Baroness Suzerain waiting to greet us. Shake his hand. I extended my hand. He hesitated for a moment, then shook it eagerly. Your Majesty, thank you so much for attending today's session, and for implementing our proposal, of course. I'm happy to have gotten a look into the inner workings of the House of Delegates. It was very enlightening indeed. You're welcome to attend as often as you'd like. Hugo gave him a thin-lipped smile. Congratulations, Mr. Suzerain. I'm sure you and your party will be celebrating today's triumph. Manus's eyes traveled involuntarily to the street where one of the Rusty's guards was helping the gold magnate into a shiny black Cadilla. A look seemed to pass between the two of them. What it meant, I wasn't certain. Indeed, Your Grace, His Majesty's ruling was much more than I ever could have hoped for. I won't trouble either of you any longer. Thanks once more, and good afternoon. He bowed to each of us and turned before hurrying back into the building. Ooh. You never hated school, but you never liked it, Cherry? Yeah, my school life was A blur. Alright, do not cooperate with Wayland in the investigation. King signs decree put forward by RPP. In a historic move, the king has signed a decree proposed by the Rizian People's Party that affirms the kingdom's commitment to safeguarding workers' rights across all sectors of the economy. The decree enforces fair compensation, reasonable working hours, safe working conditions for all, with considerable penalties for companies violating these new laws. By cooperating with the RPP, the government has ensured widespread support for the new measures. It shows the king's commitment to a well-treated worker, something that is surely to be commended. The Workers' Protection Act. Mining operation in Argno temporarily suspended. Operations at RRG mine near the city of Argno have been temporarily suspended, put on hold as supervisors bring the facilities up to the new safety standards ordered by the king. The overhaul will take several months, after which the mine will reopen, with what is expected to be slightly diminished production output. Oh, wah. Evening conversation with the Queen Mother Estelle. Your mom, Elle, your mom. It was night before my trip to Kairut for the Alliance of Nations meetings. I had just finished some last-minute preparations in my study. I carefully made my way back towards the palace's residential wing. It was later than I realized. The halls were dead silent, illuminated only by weak shafts of moonlight through the windows. Grand Wiseman Ignatius' quarters were on the ground floor. I saw light coming from the keyhole. I proceeded towards the end of the hall. Just before the stairs was the entrance to Vina's room. Through the door I caught the faint strains of her voice. I passed Vina's door and walked up the stairs. I reached the top floor, across the hall from my bedchamber. The Queen Mother's door was open a crack. I looked in. My mother was standing out on her balcony, her back turned toward me. I heard her whispering softly to herself. Good evening, Mother. She looked startled for a moment, then smiled. I'm surprised you're still up. You have a long day ahead of you. She lit a cigarette and blew smoke out into the gardens. All set for tomorrow? Sure, can I ask you something about Vina? Did Father tell you anything about these AN sessions? You know, he was no diplomat. In fact, I'm not sure he even attended after the Zeal agreement. Poor Mr. O'Skeeble went alone in his stead. You are planning on addressing the elephant in the chamber, aren't you? Which elephant? There are so many. I wonder that you world leaders could squeeze in amongst all those pachyderms. But I was referring to Zeal, or have you forgotten that the handover deadline is imminent? We need our land back, no matter what kind of announcement Victor Schmolak has up his sleeve. How do you know he's going to make an announcement? My whisper networks aren't what they used to be, but wives still talk. Any advice for how to act, then? I say don't stoop to his level. Make him look like the tyrant he is. Speaking of which, how is that muscle-bound lunk of yours proceeding with this investigation? Things will take a while, you know. I do hope the investigators turn up something we can use. I shudder to think of what might happen if the handover deadline arrives before a culprit is found. If this doesn't work, we'll try something else, but Zeal will be ours. Yes, I know. Excuse my impatience. She stubbed her cigarette out on the balcony railing and sighed. Well, it's about time I got some rest. Yes, me too. I hope Pablo ironed your pillowcase. You can't go addressing the AN with creases on your face. Thank you for all your advice. What's a mother for? I wished her good night and left the room. I heard her light click off. I returned to my quarters to see Titus take his post outside my door. I wonder how long he'd been shadowing me for. Dude, everything's rhyming. You're gay and have 3 moms. That's crazy. That's cool, though. Hey, Tesser, what's up, man? In my room, Pablo had already packed my suitcase and turned the bed down. I climbed into bed, but was too distracted by thoughts of the day ahead to sleep. Oh, would you look at the acceptable workers' rights? Look at us. Hegel tightens Galmland trade. Chancellor Hegel involves land in a deft strategic pivot is recalibrating the nation's economic ties within the CSP. By tapering off trade with Galmland, Hegel is prompting to strengthen ties with other pact members, reflecting a concerted effort to consolidate its economic future within the sphere. This economic shift may serve as a bellwether for internal CSP relations as Hegel navigates through the intricate web of intercoalition politics. The realignment speaks volumes about the underlying ideological tensions in the game of economic diplomacy being played out in the Eastern Bloc, potentially signaling a new contentious chapter in the Pact. Interesting. The Contuavo family sends official invitation to uncork of the Rhombus the Red. Lord Edward and Lady Sefina Contuavo have officially invited the entire Rizian royal family and council to attend the uncorking ceremony for their coronation wine. Rhombus the Red. Harvested and bottled in honor of the king, it is to be sampled for the first time at the Contuavo vineyards in Qualis. A number of suites in the vineyard's luxury villa have also been reserved for this occasion. A request for cooperation with Wayland. Wayland's intelligence forces have asked for full cooperation in their investigation with the Zeal bombing. This means that Rizian security will be obliged to share any information they found and vice versa. We do not want to cooperate with the Wayland investigation. Ooh, they aren't gonna like that. They aren't gonna like that one bit. The Miftian International Trade Zone. Average rent doubling every 18 months. The average rent per square meter in Rizian capital is skyrocketing rapidly, with experts estimating a doubling every 18 months with no sign of slowing down. Not only are prices on the rise, a severe lack of housing stock due to the deadly combination of city's growing population with market speculation has resulted in its average search time for new apartments approaching almost 8 months. Rough. Regional Environmental Conference held in Valenquires. Recently hosted a prestigious regional environmental conference organized by Duke Hubertus Taurus. The event brought together scientists, researchers, and journalists from around the world to discuss conservation, land preservation, and sustainable resource management. During the conference, Duke Hubertus gave a presentation on the underwater current he discovered in the 30s. To conclude the event, Duke Hubertus welcomed guests to the renowned Grand Valenquire Hotel, known for its luxurious amenities and iconic casino, providing a fitting end to the conference. The Republic of Wayland denounces refusal to cooperate. Wejik authorities have called our country's refusal to cooperate with them on the Zeal bombing investigation a hostile move, signaling a lack of trust and respect for our people. They continue by promising that Wejik investigation shall be successful in finding the culprits even without Rizia's help. Oh, really? Oh, really now? Interesting. Interesting. Alright, let's go to the AN meeting. This one takes a while. Dude. It was a rainy day in Kairut, one of only a handful the island experience per year. The sound of the falling drops on the AN dome made for an unexpectedly soothing backdrop to what I could tell was going to be a tense session. We had to be very pro-Wayland and very pro-Morella in the AN speech. I sat with Lorento and the rest of the Rizian delegation in the half-full assembly hall. Today's session was to focus on South Mercoba only. Looking around the room, I could see the representatives and leaders from Wayland, Morella, Berdia, and Lesbia. Duke Axel Reinhardt entered late, accompanied by a few of his ministers. He took a seat as far from the Lesbian delegation as possible. Wave. I waved to Duke Reinhardt. He nodded tersely in acknowledgement. He seems nervous. Alvarez's presence here is rattling him, I think. Are you well, Your Majesty? Your father always had a case of the nerves before the session. I'm fine, Mr. Esquipel. I appreciate your concern. We turned our attention to the front of the room as President Ephraim Nines entered. I hereby welcome our esteemed delegations from nations of South Mercopa to this special session. We have many leaders to hear from today, so I will keep the opening remarks to a minimum. First on today's docket is Prime Minister Alma Sultania of the Republic of Morella. Prime Minister Alma Saltanya strode up to the podium. She had to lower the microphone to reach it. Big trouble in a small package. Let's hear what she has to say before passing judgment. The Morellan leader greeted the assembly. Her voice had a melodic lit to it that I associated with Kinal. Mr. President, esteemed leaders and distinguished guests, it is my honor to speak in these hallowed halls for the first time. I come before you as a representative of the New Morella, a country committed to breaking free from the shackles of our oppressive past. A country that is truly aligned with the Aean values of justice, solidarity, and human dignity. And one that is proud to build bridges with those who share our vision of a more equal society. She nodded towards the upper seats of the assembly room. I looked behind me to see Volkslandian Chancellor Emmerich Hagel applauding fiercely. I knew today would be exciting, but this is another level. Chancellor Hagel isn't on today's program, but I wouldn't rule out his impromptu speech. It is time of transition for Morella, but as we redefine our principles and our partnerships, one fact becomes abundantly clear. We can no longer abide the senseless exploitation of our land, people, and resources. Hagel put this into her head, I'm sure of it. Behind every strong woman is a crazed Volkslandian socialist. For too long, our so-called partners in the Miftian International Trade Zone have dug the ground from under us. We've allowed them to ravage our soil and abuse our workers while reaping more than their fair share of the profits. They send security forces to guard their gold, yet leave the rest of Morella to the mercy of Dardian terrorists. Meanwhile, countries such as Rizia are willing to regulate their mining industries at home, but turn a blind eye to the exploitation abroad. It's true, we should apply the same standards to MITs as we do in Rizia. And we can, if you're willing to fight another uphill battle with Mr. Monteiro. Morella calls on the Alliance of Nations to recognize our human rights struggle, to accept that if the Miftian ITZ is to continue, any wealth it generates must be reinvested in the Morellan people. Brava, Madam Prime Minister! Chancellor Hagel was standing now. The other Aean guests turned their heads to his direction. As a fellow stewards of the International Trade Zone and fellow soldiers in the fight against imperialism, the nation of Volksland supports Morella in its journey. Are you sure that he can't get her into the CSP? Not until Morella improves its military, which may be the reason for this sudden interest in nationalization. Hagel sat back down. Nines motioned for Prime Minister Saltanya to continue. I thank all of you for your attention today and look forward to forging a brighter future for the people of South Mercopa. All of them. Lorento turned to me as the Morellan Prime Minister wrapped up her speech and returned to her seat. It seems the trade zone is going to be more of a sticking point than I thought. Nothing's gonna be decided today anyway. It's all just talk. I'm also curious what Dardia thinks of her terrorist remark, but we won't have to wait long to find out. Supreme Wiseman Jorga Asmal stepped on the stage dressed in a ceremonial robe with a silver trim. Before speaking, he waved his hand in the air 6 times, representing the 6 pillars of Galkandism. I'm surprised he flew out here. Dardia's Supreme Wiseman normally refrains from speaking in public. Whatever he has to say must be important. I admit I'm very curious. The Supreme Wiseman spoke in a deep baritone. Dear great and powerful leaders of South Mercopa, in the name of Prophet Ruick, I salute you all. I am humble enough to know that we men alone cannot decide the fate of a continent, not without God's guidance. And it is God who has guided me here today. We are one of the few nations brave enough to let themselves be ruled by his law, but we are also a country like any other. Yet our attempts to find common ground with our neighbors has been rebuffed over and over, solely on the account of our beliefs. I looked over at where Alma Saltanya was sitting. She was openly scowling. The Prime Minister of Morella accuses us of violating her borders. Yet it was so long ago that we were one country. Because of arbitrary lines that have been drawn, my people can no longer visit the graves of their ancestors or the shrines where they once worshipped. Every single one of us, Dardia, Morella, Rizia, Wayland, we all have different views. Yet we are all united by the divine path of Saint Ruick. It is my humble request that we Dardians be able to follow that path as we have for centuries. Sounds reasonable enough. But does what he's saying justify the violent acts committed by Dardian pilgrims? On that note, concerns have been raised about the missile tests my country have been conducting. Our aim has only ever been to protect our people and way of life. It is God's will that we use this technology not for evil, but to contribute to global security and stability. Alma Sultania started laughing. He's right, you know. Humans made these weapons, but only God can guide us to use them the right way. Then I hope he guides the Supreme Wise Men in the right direction. Oswald puts his hands on the podium. How far we have fallen, that the only country in South Maricopa where the pillars of nerdy still stand tall is treated as a laughingstock. You all speak of superpowers, but I know there's only one superpower we need to worry about. He pointed upward. The sooner our nations come together under him, the sooner true peace and prosperity can be relieved. Supreme Wiseman Oswald made a pillar sign again as he exited the stage. Halaita. A man of strong faith indeed, but faith alone won't be able to solve his country's problems. But now it's time for the real heavy artillery. He gestured to an aide to begin taking notes as President Nines announced Victor Schmolak. There were some whispers from within the room as Wayland's president stepped up to the podium. He silenced them with a theatrical shushing motion, then continued. Oh god, here we go. Look at this nerd. Dear fellow leaders, I wish I could say I was happy to be here, standing as one of the 6 proud nations of South Maricopa. And yet I feel only sorrow. Sorrow that our magnificent region has let itself be torn apart by forces greater than ourselves. I speak, of course, of Arcasia and Rumburg. He isn't wrong. Our countries could be allies if we rid ourselves of foreign interference. He could start by getting rid of his own ties to UC. Convinced of the idea that might makes right, they sow discord among us in order to strengthen themselves. Wayland, poor war-torn Wayland, must pay the highest price. Who among you can deny ATO's involvement in the Wayland Civil War? Or Rumburg's shipping of arms to the bloodish separatist movement? Nobody in the hall said a word. Victor looked at me directly. It is my everlasting regret that when Wayland was at its weakest, our direct neighbors opted for an alliance with a nation that has sought to harm us at every turn. I do not blame the great kingdom of Rizia for its decision, but neither can I ignore that for the past 20 years, Rumburg has maintained a presence to both our north and our south. In light of that, I cannot simply accept that Zeal bombing. That the Zeal bombing, the most heinous terrorist act to occur in Wayland since the Civil War, was the work of a few rogue agents. Rizia has been investigating the organization that we believe to be responsible, but is it a tactic to throw us off track? Rumburg isn't beneath such subterfuge. What is to stop such violence from reoccurring? What will happen to the Wejiks who have made Zeal their home once Rizia and by proxy Rumburg regain control of the region? Good night, Honeylove. I hope you feel better in the morning. I am a man who respects the rule of law, yet I cannot put my country people at risk by abandoning the territory while these questions still hang in the air. Stay silent. I sat still and kept silent. This is why I have decided to invoke the AN Threat Mitigation Protocol for treaty obligation to delay the return of Zeal until that risk is neutralized. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd assembly. I felt many pairs of eyes on me. I didn't say anything. This is unprecedented, Your Majesty. No nation has invoked this protocol since the signing of the AN Charter nearly a century ago. The murmurs in the room were growing louder. President Nines banged a gavel for silence. If I may continue. It is not my intention to keep custody of the Zeal region forever. The sooner that safety and security are restored, the sooner we may begin preparing for an orderly transition. I hope for swift cooperation from His Majesty, King Ramus, and my fellow South Maricopan nations. Together we are strong. He raised his arms in expectation of applause. None came. None of our neighbors is openly taking Wayland's side. That bodes well. Victor shook his head and left the stage. I politely applauded as he walked away. I'll get in touch with Wayland's foreign ministers as soon as we're back home. There may still be a way to straighten things out. Now let's see if Prime Minister Alvarez has any words on the subject. Why is he up there? Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez was next. He straightened his tie as he approached the microphone. Mr. President, may I just start by voicing my heartfelt support for this fine organization and the role that it plays. Were it not for the AN, there would be no way to stop our country's petty quarrels from devouring the world. Which, ladies and gentlemen, is precisely what's in danger of happening today. I speak, of course, of the conspiracy to nationalize the Miftian International Trade Zone. Chancellor Hagel stood up again. Alvarez ignored him. Let us not for 1 second believe that Morella is acting of its own accord. The long arm of the Catanian Security Pact is behind us. By giving in to Prime Minister Sultania's demands, the nations of Lesbia and Rizia would be effectively paying to increase the UC sphere of influence. I know I'm not alone in wanting to avoid these disastrous consequences. He looked around the room. Do nothing. I stayed silent. Prime Minister Alvarez waited a beat, then continued. I will remind Morella and Vogsland that the Alliance of Nations is watching, as is ATO. Any attempt to seize the international trade zone by unlawful means will be met with retaliation. That will be all. I was expecting more commentary from Vogsland. The day's not over yet. Looks like Palais is next. Oh, here we go. Who shat in your cereal? Well, I did. Hello, Roland. What's up, man? Duke Reinhardt stepped up to the podium. With the spotlight on the Pelesian leader, I could see that he had stubble on his chin and dark circles under his eyes. Poor Axel must be a bundle of nerves. It's his first AN address, and he's quite inexperienced. Duke Reinhardt cleared his throat and shuffled a few papers around. Ahem. As the leader of the youngest nation in southern Mercopa, I am humbled to be in this great hall. I'm fully aware that everyone else in the room has spent their lives preparing to be in power, whereas me, let's just say that calling me a dilettante would be generous. I heard laughter from around the hall. Laugh yourself. I joined in. Lorento gestured to where Prime Minister Alvarez was sitting. The lesbian leader wasn't smiling. But just because I am inexperienced doesn't mean I am naive. Since the fall of the Valgos Empire, Palais has been battled over by nations much more powerful than itself. The Grand Duchy may be small, but it is not a plaything. Look at the art, literature, and thought that has come out of Palais in the last 30 years. Look at our technological innovation. He glanced up at me. Our new energy partnership with Rizia is a signal of Palais' entrance onto the greater global stage. Patricio Alvarez was silently stewing in his seat. King Ramos and I represent a new kind of monarchy, one that is young, flexible, and in line with modern values. I invite my other colleagues in this esteemed organization to engage with us as equals, irrespective of the way we have been treated in the past. Furthermore, fucking criminal! Duke Reinhardt looked shaken by the interjection. Well, as I was saying, we Pelesians... No, I cannot stay silent while you make your entitled demands. Your family used Palais as a base to pillage the Xenon continent. Everything you had, you stole from someone else. Rather than give it back when the revolution forced your hand, you begged the capitalist swine of Lesbia to help you hold on to your ill-gotten gains. I beg your pardon, Chancellor Hagel, but I am not responsible for my family's sins. But you're happy to profit from them, aren't you? Up there in your glass castle. I'll tell you, Duke Reinhardt, the cracks are beginning to show. You cannot talk to the Duke this way, Chancellor Hagel. Be silent. Hagel frowned at me. You are equally culpable, Your Majesty. The days of both of your monarchies are numbered. Chancellor Hagel, this is your last warning. Do not interrupt today's session again. Very well. I've said all I needed to say. He glared out from his seat as Duke Reinhardt finished his speech. He tapped on the mic nervously. I see the Chancellor is still resentful that the people of Palais have chose the firm leadership of the Reinhardt family over the chaos of revolution. Yes, the Grand Duchy aided in the colonial aims of the Valgos Empire. But like Vogsland, we are ready to put this past behind us and look towards the future. We simply have a different vision. Palais may not yet have truly earned its spot on this assembly, but it is my hope that it will. His voice had regained its full confidence now, and any nation that attempts to stop us from doing so will be met with strong and resolute response. He rushed back to his seat as chatter erupted from the rest of the assembly. It's certainly been an eventful session, Your Majesty. I hope you're ready for your speech. I'm as ready as I'll ever be. I took a deep breath as President Nines announced my name. Lorento gave me a quick smile of encouragement, and I left my seat. I stepped up to the podium to a smattering of applause. The delegations from Wayland and Lesbia stayed pointedly silent. Most respected leaders of South Mercopa. My monarchical forebears instilled in me a great respect for the institution, for this institution and its values. Seen over and over throughout history, our nations can accomplish much more together than we can apart. But such bonds do not always form organically. Sometimes they must be fostered, other times forced. I am so saddened by the division plaguing southern Mercopa. I am aware the comments made by President Victor Schmalak early in the session demand a response. Wayland's failure to return Zeal for what it is, a flagrant violation. The AN threat mitigation protocol can only be invoked. Appropriate form. Very pro-Wayland. His invocation of AN protocol was completely understandable. The transition of Zeal cannot happen unless security is restored to the region. I pledge my country's cooperation in resolving the horrific incident of last year. I'm confident with a safe and secure transition can still be arranged with minimal delay. I'm willing to invest however much time it takes in order to get our territory back. Our alliance with Rumburg comes secondary to our relationship with our direct neighbors. Victor Schmolak applauded from his seat. He had a placid expression on his face. Wayland has been unfairly maligned since the events of the Civil War. After order is restored in Zeal, we shall help it regain its international prominence. The assembly hall went silent. Lorento grimaced slightly. Moving on. I cannot ignore the presence of Chancellor Hagel and his newfound interests in our neighbor, Morella. I saw Hagel lean forward in his seat intently. Very pro-Morella. Maintained good relationships for centuries. It pains me to see specter of encroaching socialism does not scare me as much as potential loss of precious resources. Ongoing exploitation happening in Morella, I am not surprised that Prime Minister Saltania has looked to the east for assistance. As Morella's longtime allies, we are prepared to offer what assistance we can in building a more equitable mix. Prime Minister Saltania began applauding. Hagel looked pleasantly surprised. If Rizia must make sacrifices so that Morella may prosper, so be it. Prime Minister Alvarez and the lesbian delegation were speaking in worried whispers. President Nines again gestured for silence, then motioned for me to continue. In the same spirit of cooperation, I believe a compromise can be reached regarding Dardia's religious travelers. I also stand with Morella against the Dardian extremists who seek to infiltrate their borders. The division of the former Empire Meridia has pitted brother against brother. The violence must end. Scattered applause came from around the assembly hall. The Grand Duchy. Finally, a word regarding Palais. I believe our nation's burgeoning partnership represents the dawning of a new golden age. Both of our families have made it through bloody revolutions because it was the people's will. We both wish to end the cycle of violence started by our predecessors. We have not forgotten our country's past animosity, but we are glad to look to the future together. As for prior remarks made by Chancellor of Volksland, I will not dignify them with a response. President Nine's motion to the clock, my speech had gone over its runtime. I will conclude with these words. President Schmolak was wrong. It's not the superpowers who are tearing us apart. We are doing it to ourselves. We have let the superpowers wield their influence over us. But in the end, we are still all humans under a single god. But I hold out hope that we may find our way back to each other. Thank you. I sat down and Aide handed me a glass of water. Well done, Your Majesty. It'll take a while to digest the ramifications. Let's update on all this once we're back at Rizia. Filing back out of the assembly hall, I noticed the sound of the rain on the dome had stopped. Another sunny day in Constantium. Constantium needs nuts. Hey, Graham. I haven't been shot in the head yet. I tried, yeah. I do try. Hello, Vince. Excuse me. What's the deal? Diplomacy? AN threat mitigation protocol has been called. I want to see if... Territory of Zeal? Ariana Taurus Association leads peaceful protests against Wayland's AN decision. In the week since Victor Schmolak's AN announcement, the Zeal branch of the Ariana Taurus Association has spearheaded a number of peaceful demonstrations meant to show the Wayland government that the citizens of Zeal want to be Rizian once more. The association spokesperson has vowed the demonstrations will continue until Zeal is returned. Okay. We were very pro-Wayland and very Morella as much as I could get it. Short-term quotas when energy prices drop. Energy prices drop as Xeno conflict de-escalates. Yeah. Let's read the news. Wayland announcement throws Zeal into confusion. Royal Herald correspondents in Zeal say that the region's population was shocked by Wayland President Victor Schmolak's announcement that the region would not be returned to Rizia on the agreed-upon handover date. In a move viewed as a serious violation of the bilateral agreement signed in 1926, President Schmolak announced in Kairut that, due to national security concerns, the Zeal region would remain under Wayland's administration indefinitely. Local residents of Zeal, many of whom are Rizian descendant, have been anticipating a reunion with the kingdom, have voiced their disappointment and their fear over the sudden shift in policy. The coming days are likely to see intense diplomatic efforts from Rizia and the international community. The people of Zeal, their future hanging in the balance, will be watching closely. Wayland refuses to relinquish Zeal. Logslandian Chancellor interrupts in AN session. Significant reduction of Arcasian military presence in war-torn region. Kinal emerges as strategic ATO hub. The Republic of Kinal, positioned at the crossroads of key maritime corridors and land-based trade routes, has become an essential hub for the Alliance. Leveraging its geographical advantages, the nation now facilitates critical logistics support, provides oversight on the volatile region of North Xena and South Mercopa. Kinal's growing role reflects its heightened geopolitical significance and alignment with the Alliance's broader objectives. This alignment has strengthened its position as a pivotal player in the global diplomacy, advancing its national interests while supporting regional stability. Interesting. If you can sit in a chair, can a chair sit on you, or can a sit chair you? I agree. A chair sit you for sure. Arcasia commits to a significant military de-escalation, reducing its troop presence and entrusting operations to Cerberus International and Palantor Security Solutions. This withdrawal indicates a pivot to a strategy of decreased conflict intensity and anticipates the stabilizations of once turbulent regions. The move has immediate effects on global markets, with energy prices showing signs of stabilization, and reflects the diminishing clout of the CSP in key territories like Narashima and Zelina. As Arcasia reassesses its foreign military commitments, the repercussions for regional stability and power hierarchies are set to stabilize. Yeah, man, sure. Whatever you say, brother. Whatever you fucking say. Ah, Ramus the Red Wide. Alright, energy price drop. The easing of tensions in Xena has sent a ripple through the global energy markets, driving prices down. While this benefits consumers abroad, it cuts into the profitability of our energy exports, straining state revenues. Impose short-term quotas to control supply. Done. Oh, Dardia has... Whoa, Dardia, what's up? Unfriendly. Everybody hates me. Grand Duke Axel Reinhardt, mediation. Global energy prices are now low. The ROG adjusts the distribution amid export quotas. Following the Crown's imposition of temporary export quotas, Rizian Oil and Gas has begun adjusting its operations to stabilize domestic supply. With reduced shipments leaving Valenquir's coastal terminals, ROG has rerouted refined stock to inland depots and fuel stations across the kingdom. Spokesperson described the move as preventative, not reactionary, aimed at shielding Rizian households from external volatility. While ROG's leadership signals confidence, analysts suggest long-term impacts on international contracts may depend on how quickly global markets rebound. We love a bit of economic news, don't we, folks? Alright, I'm gonna take a quick break. I gotta go dump a pee and get some more water and such. Hope everybody's having a good time. I'll be right back. Be arc B.
Hello, video gamers. We are back. Brogling? Love to brogle. I love brogling. Wee wee. Wee wee, but it's in relationship to piss. Short-term quotas on energy. Play the drinking game. Show interest in Papal's poems. This is optional, but unlocks legalization of homosexuality if you want. That's very funny. Play the drinking game. Public transportation inefficiency crisis. The public transportation system is grappling with an efficiency crisis strained by burgeoning demands and passenger numbers. Transportation officials are pushing for urgent action, highlighting the need for increased funding and modernization. The government must decide between investing in infrastructural improvements, technological upgrades, or exploring alternative transit solutions. The outcome will crucially impact the daily lives of the citizens and the efficiency of urban mobility. Rizian infrastructure network is our backbone. Alright. Did I fall in the toilet? I did not this time. I did almost smash my foot on my washing machine, though, which would have been no good. Probably would have screamed. Vital rail link fails. Due to technical issues affecting a vital railroad switch near Cados, train traffic between Port Trizon and Monquis has been cut. While the issue is likely to be resolved within a few days, the closure of vital railway is affecting not just passenger traffic, but also the transport of goods between Monquis' harbor and the rest of the country. Ramus the Red. In the fertile fields of Calas, the Contuavo vineyards were among the oldest in Rizia. They were run by a revered winemaking family, now in their 5th generation, who had long ago been awarded noble status for the fine wines they provided to the kingdom. Tonight, they had invited my family and council over to the ceremonial uncorking of their latest vintage, Ramus the Red, bottled on my coronation day. It was now ready for drinking. I wished I was in more of a celebratory mood. Wayland announced that an AN had plunged the country into panic. I was besieged by demands to take action to get Zeal back. And as gas tankers were venturing off from Monquis, Port Trizon, and Fort Ailes to Rumburg to filling our natural gas exports every single day. For now, all I had to do was open a wine bottle, but even that was politicized. Hugo had stressed the importance of keeping the Contuavo family loyal to our house. Our motorcade rolled up to the vineyard entrance, where a festival tent decorated in blue, white, and gold of the Rizian flag had been set up. Due to the intimate nature of the event, we'd been asked to entrust our security to the Contuavo's own guard force. Titus and his men would remain on standby near the vineyard's perimeter. After a thorough security sweep, my mother Estella, Vina, Hugo, and I proceeded to our tables. Pavel smoothly approached and poured us glasses of sparkling wine. Hit my foot or toe? Oh, I don't know. They both hurt like hell. I've been smashing my feet a lot lately on the corners of my apartment. It hurties. I had the pleasure of supervising the pre-tasting with the vineyard staff, I must say. The family has truly outdone themselves this time. How splendid. I can't wait. I honestly think you'll love it. It's light on a palate at first, but it has hidden depths. That sounds perfect, Mr. Adria, but please stick to conservative pours for His Majesty. It's unbecoming of a king to get intoxicated at these functions. Lucita, Elena, and Lorento walked past us and were seated at the table next to ours. All three were dressed more festively than the simple formal wear they wore to council meetings, but Lucita's slinky, intricately beaded yellow gown was particularly eye-catching. My mother turned to me and muttered under her breath, "Oh my, the mountains of Monteclar are on full display tonight." And how? Vina rolled her eyes in disgust. I still don't understand what we're doing here, especially with all that's been going on. The mountains of Monteclar are on full display tonight. Gross. You have yet to experience hitting your pinky toe, I guess? I have. Politics, Your Highness, in case your foreign situation escalates, will require the support of House Taurus in our home province more than ever. We've got the spirit of Rizia to uphold. Precisely, Your Majesty. In this case, it's especially important for our wealthiest citizens to be reassured that their assets will remain stable. The rest of the attendees began filing in. It was small, elite, crowd, conspiring barons and baronesses, viscounts and CEOs from around the region. They bowed as they passed my table, but some of their smiles seemed ungenuine. I thought I heard someone whisper, "Sword lover." Estella flashed me a look of warning. There's no pleasing these people, darling. Better to ignore them.
Last to arrive was my father's younger cousin Hubertus, the reigning Duke of Valanquiris. He approached our table and removed his hat with a sweeping motion. Your Majesty, thank you for joining us today, on behalf of myself and the entire province. He pronounced it Province, the remnant of a lisp he had since childhood. It's good to see you, Your Grace. I hope your reign as Duke is going smoothly. How could it not be, with King Ramus Taurus on the throne? He was smiling widely, but I thought I saw unease in his eyes. I hope the smell didn't bother you on the way over. I must say the new mining site is beginning to raise quite the stink. I've heard they discovered a species of snail in the Silged Islands that lives off industrial waste. Perhaps that could be an expedient solution. Your scholarly mind never stops working, does it? Rest assured your king has everything under control. Thank you, Your Majesty, I never doubted you. We'll have to catch up later. Everyone's growing impatient for the grand uncorking. Quite right. I won't keep them waiting. After everyone had settled in, the head of the winery gave a short opening greeting, then welcomed me onto the stage. I stepped behind the microphone. A magnum-sized bottle of Ramus the Red stood on the table behind me. My esteemed fellow nobles, ladies and gentlemen, gather here to celebrate the fruits of our land, this land, our land. To our fine province, the foundation upon which this kingdom stands. The wine will inspire reverence for the venerable House Taurus and the nation of Rizia and anyone's lips who touches it. Yes, even swords. Wine will only grow better over time, just like the reign of the king. Wines of this vineyard have always delighted our palates in times of joy and calmed our nerves in times of sorrow. Heartened that so many of you have come here to celebrate tonight, especially in the wake of recent events. Now more than ever, we must defend our traditions and our way of life. I am a proud son of Valanquiris, and I assure you that my home province will always come first for me. Nothing matters to me more than your continued loyalty. Have faith in your king and in House Taurus, and you will be richly rewarded. By this time next year, we'll be raising a glass of Ramus the Red to reunited Rizia. The crowd applauded with gusto. Hugo had a relieved look on his face. But you're not here to listen to me, you're here to drink wine! I heard cheers as representative of winery handed me a ceremonial corkscrew in a glass. Uncorked the wine. I used the corkscrew to open the wine bottle. I poured myself a small amount and turned to face the crowd. To House Taurus. Glorious Axa Rizia. Drink. I raised my glass towards the audience and drank. Thoughts on the new Resident Evil? I haven't seen much of it. I'm gonna be honest. It was delicious. A light, refreshing taste gradually developed into a darker and more complex finish. It was a final round of applause as I stepped off stage. People in the winery staff began circulating around the tables with wine and food. Hugo intercepted me before I could sit down. Well done, Ramus. Our constituents were quite pleased. I meant every word. And your subjects could tell that. He walked off to speak to the Contuavos. I sat down for a brief sip from my glass before heading into the fray. I spent a good several hours mingling with relatives and fellow nobles, posing for photographs with the winemakers and fending off journalists. Every time I attempted to sit down and eat, I was deluged with more requests. My glass, on the other hand, was constantly being refilled. By the end of the evening, I was having some trouble keeping names and faces straight. The tent gradually emptied out as the guests departed. The winery had an attached luxury villa where our delegation had been invited to stay for the night. Hugo, Estella, Vina, and I began saying our final goodbyes before making our way upstairs. I'm glad you managed to find time to come to Callus, Your Majesty. I would call the evening a smashing success. With the emphasis on smashing. Vina was clutching my mother's arms, looking half-dazed. Ramus the Red, long may he reign? She hiccuped. That's right, darling. Now let's get you to bed. I heard an uproarious burst of laughter from the other side of the room. My three counselors were still at the table. Lucita's eyes were sparkling as she regaled the other two with an apparently hilarious anecdote. Be right behind you, I'll just have to say goodnight to my staff. Take your time, sweetheart. She gave me a knowing smile. Vina was too busy attempting to peer yet in her ball gown to register what I had said. As my family headed out, I walked over to the counselor's table. He still uses one-liners? That is very funny. Is he still doing backflips to dodge chainsaws? If so, big fan. And he just stormed into my barracks without a stitch on, screaming, "If you weren't a duchess, I'd have you drawn and quartered." What are you three so merry about? Oh! She, Lorenzo, and Elena immediately straightened up and stopped laughing. Your Majesty, the Duchess was telling us about the time she hit her commanding officer's fatigues while he was swimming. It was a dare back in basic training. I had to scrub the kitchen floor for 3 weeks, but it was worth it. It's part of the drinking game, Your Majesty, a rather infantile one. Can I play? The three of them looked at each other. Yes, of course, Your Majesty. Pable, some wine for the king, please. Right away, Mr. Esquibel. Pable approached the table and gave me a generous pour of Ramus the Red. Why don't you play too, Pable? I detected cautious excitement in his eyes. It would be my pleasure, Your Majesty. He sat down, Lucita rubbed their hands together. Perfect, Pable. I think we'd all love to learn more about you. Have you played Facts or Fiction? I have not, Justice. It's simple. You tell us 3 statements about yourself, 2 of them have to be true, and 1 must be a lie. Each of us then guesses which statement is false. If we guess wrong, we have to drink. She gestured to Pable, who quickly topped up her wine glass. It was just my turn. I'll let His Majesty choose the next player. Let's hear from Pable. My butler gave a graceful nod. Certainly, Your Majesty. He paused to think. My father once made me weed a patch of stinging nettles as punishment for shaking off on duty. Little did he know, I rather enjoyed the sensation. I once overheard a Rumburgian royal valet make a demeaning comment about Queen Mother Estella during a diplomatic visit. I persuaded our chef to put an excessive amount of pepper in his food at staff dinner. He looked down at the table. In the 20s, I wrote a poem that was selected for the annual Rizian Literary Compendia. Pseudonymously. Of course. Lucita laughed lightly. There's the falsehood. Running a royal household doesn't leave one time for poetry. There's good old mustard paint, ain't that the truth? The butler's wine descriptions have verged on poetry at times. I prefer to believe he doesn't take perverse pleasures in stinging nettles. I'd rather not believe the story about the Rumburgian valet, as hilarious as it might have been. I would know if Pable had written poetry. Pable shifted in his seat. Actually, the poetry part is true. Weeding the nettle patch was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Wait, I want to know more about this poem. There's not much to know, Your Majesty. It was many years ago. Lucita cleared her throat. I think we're forgetting something. Drink. Lucita, Lorenzo, and I drank from our glasses. My foreign counselor had a contemplative look as he put his down. I read the compendium regularly. What was your pseudonym? It isn't important. Wait, let me guess. Aha! Paul Adair, from 1929. I was the shadow to your light. A silent witness to the burden you bore, a chasm yawns between us now, eager to be filled with talk, with touch. Like two rising tides beneath the setting sun, we are pulled back to each other with a force that knows no bounds. Just as the velvet embrace of night claims the day's end, your fire consumes me. My heart He was interrupted by a sudden chatter coming from Pable's direction. Sudden clatter. Everyone turned to look at my butler. Forgive me, I dropped my wine glass. I'll have it cleared up at once. He turned away to signal the winery staff member. Silence descended on our table. Well, whichever palace mate he wrote that for is one lucky girl. Shall we continue? Go ahead, Mr. Esquibel. With pleasure. He gave his wine glass a dramatic swirl. When I'm in a diplomatic meeting that I know is trivial, I draw caricatures instead of taking notes. When I was just out of university, I challenged the mayor of Salabas to a duel. I accidentally shouted, "All hail the new queen!" at His Majesty King Valero's coronation. You're not really doodling during meetings, are you? Even if he were, I doubt he'd admit it to you. The duel scenario seems the most far-fetched to me. I've heard the duel story 100 times, Lorenzo. You didn't challenge the mayor of Salabas? It was the Earl of Jails. Lorenzo gave her an abashed look. You know me too well, Miss Werner. Drink. Lucita drained their glass. I followed suit. Elena smirked triumphantly. I noted Pable's look of slight concern. What was the duel about? The current day Countess of Jails. Neither of us had the nerve to shoot, but he won the grand prize in the end. How anticlimactic, Mr. Esquibel. You made a smoothie. What kind? That sounds tasty. She tapped on her glass. Pable dutifully refilled it. Who's our next victim? Miss Werner. I still find this childish. In my day, if people wanted to get drunk, they got drunk. But if you insist. She thought for a moment. I have an antique coin collection that's worth more than my house. My late husband and I once undertook a 3-week sailing trip to Gomland and back. Once had to stop Queen Liza from purchasing a diamond necklace with Rizian treasure money. There's no way your coin collection is worth that much. I call foul on the Liza story. Her Majesty was beyond such shenanigans. I can believe Her Majesty Queen Liza would attempt such a purchase, but not that you would stop it, Miss Werner. Lorenzo grinned and shook his head. This is too easy. If there's one thing you hated more than sailing, it was your dearly departed husband. Elena sighed. Yes, that's right. Fuck! I picked up my glass and took a healthy sip. Lucita and Pavel did the same. You got a fortune of antique coins, do you? Ask me anything about the Marquis ducats and resonant medallions. Well done, Miss Werner. Who's next? Since I missed your story, I think you should take another turn, Duchess. As you wish, Your Majesty. Despite my Azaro heritage, I couldn't stand the sight of blood as a child. There was a time when I fainted from pricking my own finger. My cousin Zola confided in me that she despised her husband-to-be, so I falsified evidence that he was having an affair with a commoner. The engagement was broken off at once. And I have a lucky set of undergarments that I wear to important meetings and military exercises. Lorenzo raised an eyebrow. Intriguing, dear Duchess, but false. Azaros don't fall prey to superstition. I don't believe the story about your cousin. I'd sooner believe that than the idea of Lucita Azaro fainting at a drop of blood. Though the blood story is so implausible that it must be true. I have my doubts about your role in the dissolution of your cousin's engagement. Lucita shook her head. Mr. Esquivel had it right. I don't wear lucky underwear on important days. Fuck. Do I think I'm ever gonna play another re-game? Maybe. Ah, shoot. Hang on. Give me just a second. Hang on. I have to... Give me just a sec. I have to make a link on one of my papers public. Okay. Alright. Maybe one stream? Yeah, maybe. As long as I can find more horse girl mods. Mr. Esquivel had it right. I don't wear lucky underwear on important days. Time to drink. Paybell, Elena, and I drank. Lucita continued with a mischievous smile on her face. Actually, on such occasions, I find it invigorating to wear nothing at all beneath my uniform. Lorenzo and Elena shot each other amused looks. Pavel politely coughed. Perhaps now would be a good time for Duchess Azaro to retire. There's been a great deal of wine flowing tonight. That's all harmless fun, Pavel, isn't it, Your Majesty? We all deserve some reprieve from the stiff formalities of royal life. Pavel frowned. My apologies to you both. I was only trying to be helpful. If you'd like to be helpful, you can fetch us a new bottle. This one's almost empty. Straight away, Duchess Azaro. He disappeared to the kitchen and came back with more wine. Lucita looked at me expectantly. Actually, I'm ready for bed. Lucita frowned. But you haven't taken a turn yet, Your Majesty. Alright, if we make you happy, I'll give it a try. My counselors looked at each other with no small amount of excitement. I could feel my head spinning. I racked my brain for ideas. I did just drink like 5 glasses of wine. Re7, hate the main character, but it's a good game. Maybe. I have a birthmark on my chest in the exact same shape of the Pales Administrative District. If I weren't king, I think I'd like to be a farmer. Won the Portrazon Derby while disguised as a commoner. If I weren't king, I think I'd like to be a farmer. Growing up in Palace Taurus, I once mistook a priceless Marquean vase for a urinal. My great-grandfather, King Zavi Su, too, never actually had a mustache. I drew one on his royal portrait a long time ago. I was having trouble concentrating. I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. I was secretly happy when my father died. The others exchanged troubled looks. Lorento cautiously spoke up. Of course you weren't glad when King Valero died, Your Majesty. That was the lie. The others quickly nodded. You guessed it. That was my lie. There was a palpable feeling of relief in the air. So, a farmer, it wouldn't be my first choice, that's for sure. What can I say? I like knowing where my food comes from. Pable cleared his throat. Your Majesty, you have a long day ahead of you tomorrow. Why don't we adjourn? Yes, that sounds like a wise idea. Good night, Your Majesty. Thank you for an enlightening time. We all learned a great deal. Possibly too much. Lucita shook her head. The more intimately we know each other, the better we can fight as a team. It's an old army trick. Shall I escort you to your quarters, Your Majesty? Yes, thank you. My counselors and I said our goodbyes. They dispersed to the rooms they were staying. I suddenly became acutely aware of how much wine I had to drink. People helped me to steady as we made our way upstairs to my suite. He swiftly ushered me inside and took off my coat. The butler's quarters here are connected to the adjoining room. Just knock if you need me. Pable walked over to the side of the room. He paused with his hand on the doorknob. So that poem, those feelings. It was a very long time ago, Your Majesty. He turned the knob. It's fine, Pable. I won't tell a soul. Relief blossomed across Pable's face. He bowed. Thank you. I don't share your feelings, but you're still my friend. Yes, of course. I was foolish to hope otherwise. Good night, Your Majesty. He left the room and gently closed the door behind him. With some difficulty, I undressed and crawled into bed. I slept more soundly than I had in months. Thoughts on bands? Not my thing. Don't go to very many concerts. Don't listen to much music, I guess. As much as I probably should, you know? Oh. Large gatherings in Zeal are prohibited. As part of an increasingly tight security measure, public gatherings of over 50 people are now prohibited in the region of Zeal. Critics see this as a restriction of voices, calling for a return of the region to Rizia. Officials have guaranteed Rizia that the measures are merely intended to increase the safety of both Rizians and Weshex in the region. Rufus Cragg's royal gossip, Belanquirus elite, turn up Marqualis uncorking. The rise of totalist maximism in Xeno. Now, this is an article. A specter of totalist maximism is sweeping across the Xena continent. Totalism. Maximism, commonly referred to as totalism, a sub-ideology of maximism that combines totalitarian utilitarianism, corporatism, and nationalist autarky to create a highly centralized and efficiency-driven society. Damn. The destabilization wrought by Arcasian interference, the century of revolutions, and the Western colonization left many nations with high unemployment, depleted resources, industries controlled by foreign settlers, creating fertile ground for a movement promising renewal and self-sufficiency. Totalist maximism has exploited these grievances, channeling resentment into rigid state control and gaining traction through anti-foreigner and anti-globalist rhetoric. Damn. Have I killed anybody today? I may as well have, man. You were in band in high school? Reports indicate several nations... Oh, you were in a band in high school, not in band. Oh. Have already fallen under its influence, with discussions to unify against perceived adversaries, raising alarms regionally. Intelligence from Kinal suggests Rumburg is covertly supporting these regimes, seeking to expand its influence amid the chaos. As the movement spreads, its militarized governance and aggressive rejection of foreign entanglement threaten to destabilize the continent further, leaving neighboring states and global powers on edge. Rumburg denounces Wayland over Zeal claim. Oil embargo continues. Kingdom of Rumburg has officially denounced the Republic of Wayland's decision to continue occupying the Zeal region past the terms of the agreed-upon treaty between Wayland and Rizia, said a spokeswoman on behalf of Queen Beatrice. The condemnation comes as no surprise, given the familial and political bonds between the kingdoms of Rizia and Rumburg. Sources say that a number of other monarchies in Grace organization are preparing similar statements, thereby increasing pressure on Wayland to relinquish its hold on Zeal. Further magnifying this pressure are the sanctions placed on Wessex oil by Rumburg and several other Grace countries shortly after the events of Friendship Day, 1950. We expect that, despite the bravado Schmolak showed at the recent AN session, he will be forced to find quick and diplomatic solution to what he claims is a national security issue. Indeed. A metal band. Interesting. I didn't know you were a screamer. Construction to begin on the Arius Field Pipeline. Following our agreement with Duke Reinhardt, preliminary construction has begun on a pipeline from Arius Natural Gas Field to mainland Rizia. Once the exact terms and details of our exploration rights deal have been finalized, it is expected that drilling and energy delivery will be able to commence immediately. Sordland offers an investment opportunity. Buy the Stornish state bonds, of course. Amidst a recession, Sordland's government, led by Alfonso, has presented a potentially lucrative bond sale trade opportunity to be discussed at the capital of Sordland. Whole Sword. This royal visit will include the household and has additional expenditures. Hold talks in Holsword to discuss the opportunity. Oh yeah. Of course. Sordland prepares to host the King Rhombus. After we agree to attend talks in Holsword regarding a lucrative investment opportunity, the Swordish capital now hurriedly prepares itself to host our king. Reportedly, the former royal quarters in the Maroon Palace are now to house royalty once more, even if for only a few days. Upgrade the military production lines. That's not on here, but maybe I will. Maybe I will. One budget, one energy? The kingdom's recently built modern military factories offer a solid foundation to scale up production of land and air units. An expansion would enable the kingdom to strengthen its position, either by preparing for potential conflict, or by establishing itself as a competitive player in the international arms market. I can't decree yet, but I want to take it, so... Sure. Oh, the delegation. Xena continent positions as anti-CSP front. The Xena continent includes many nations bolstering their stances as formidable oppositions to the CSP's influence. This informal network encompasses a broad coalition of nations that are aligning their policies and military strategies to counterbalance the CSP's regional ambitions, yet there still persists a palpable wariness towards the ATO, hinting at a deeper-seated desire for greater political autonomy. As Xena positions itself as a counterweight to millennia's dominance, the continent's geopolitical significance is magnified within the global rivalry. I am going to first sell first and second batches of military equipment so I can get the extra capital just in case. Sell first batch of military equipment to the international market. The kingdom authorizes the sale of military equipment to the international markets. This decree enables the export of surplus defense assets, including infantry weapons and other core equipment. The move not only generates revenue, but also strengthens diplomatic and defense ties with allied nations. The sale will adhere to international arms export policies and strategic diplomatic geopolitical considerations. We sell one, and then we want to sell the second batch as well. My authority. Alright, and then, of course, we take the delegation to buy bonds. I've never done this one before. Never done this one. Would you let a car drive you? I mean, of course. You're a guitarist, Cherry. That's cool. Like a bassist, or I guess guitarist, you said. Our delegation arrived at Holsword International Airport early in the afternoon. President Ewald Alfonso and our contingent of Swordish officials were there to greet us. By the time we reached the base of Holsword Tower, the sun had begun to dip lower in the sky, bathing the city in a golden hue. Accompanying me were my counselors Laurento Esquivel and Elna Werner, as well as my daughter. As our vehicle came to a stop, President Alfonso stepped forward with our welcoming gesture. Welcome to Holsword Tower, King Rhombus. I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to today. It's an occasion to celebrate the multifaceted economic partnership we are building between our great nations. President Alfonso, what a grand venue for our equally grand designs. You said it, Your Majesty. President Ewald Alfonso gaze briefly swept across our group before settling on Princess Vina. Princess Vina, it's an honor to welcome you. Mr. Manger and our team will ensure all your needs are met during your stay. Thank you, President Alfonso. I've studied much about Sordland's recent history and can't wait to experience its culture firsthand. Consider us at your service, Your Highness. Should you have any requests or need assistance, please don't hesitate to let me know. It's comforting to know Princess Vina will be in good hands. No worries, Your Majesty. We'll make sure your entire delegation gets the full Swordish experience, top-notch, no fuss. You started playing bass guitar because you no longer have your electric guitar. Ah. Posted clips of you playing guitar, Cherry. Oh. I don't remember. We appreciate it, Mr. Manger. It's important for us to see the Swordland the way it truly is beyond the official veneer. Yes, please don't feel the need to put on a show on my behalf. We'll continue this conversation over dinner. The views from the revolving restaurant are nothing less than astounding. Upon entering the grand lobby of Holsword Tower, we were directed towards the lavish elevator. The cabin slowly ascended, giving us a momentary sense of detachment from the world below. The cityscape of Holsword became a moving panorama through the glass walls. From the cobbled streets of the old town to the skyscrapers of the Maroon District, the greenery of the Capital Park to the diversity of New Earlery, the city was a seamless blend of past and present. Quite the sight, isn't it? It's always interesting to see Holsword from this perspective. I hope your first impression of our city is a favorable one. Holsword's modernity is an inspiration to us. It's been quite the challenge to explore new economic paths while staying true to our historic roots. Valgan, the place where I'm from, has been struggling to do the very same. It's difficult, but it's the only way to survive. The reforms we have embarked on in the last 5 years is the medicine our economy needed for the long-term future. It may take a while, but we'll get out of Saul's stagnation. The elevator gently halted at the top of Holsword Tower, and the door slid open, revealing the entrance to the revolving restaurant. Alfonso continued to talk. You read the news, Your Majesty. I won't pretend the Swordish economy hasn't seen a downturn since our last meeting. But the recession of 51 was a direct result of the entrenched systemic issues we inherited. Thanks to the aggressive economic reforms I'm putting into place, our growth will only skyrocket from here. It may be a controversial move, but privatizing key sectors and crucially attracting foreign investment will position Swordland towards a global, competitive, prosperous, and stable future in the 60s. I understand completely, Mr. President, but if I may be so bold, how can you be so sure these radical changes won't deepen the divide between rich and poor in your country? Be as bold as you want, Your Highness. As someone who's worked in rural areas and seen the reality, let me tell you, investment and growth often lift all boats. Sure, we need to tackle the wealth gap, but it's not just about handouts. It's about creating real sustainable opportunities. I'm completely on board with your approach. Rizia itself is undergoing a series of privatization measures. So I've heard. It's encouraging to know that beneath these kingly robes beats the heart of a fellow fiscal liberal. So here we are. The restaurant's large windows offered an unobstructed view of Holsword's expanse. The staff guided us towards the large table. The gentle hum of conversation enveloped us as we were seated. Any questions about this magnificent panorama, Your Majesty? Happy to offer my insights into the various districts of our fair city. No need. We're here for one reason and one reason alone. I would love to learn more about Holsword, Mr. President. I looked out the window. How do you see the evolution of Holsword? I'd say it mirrors that of Swordland itself. It's been rebuilding, growing, changing with the times. Just like whole Swordland, it stands strong no matter what's thrown at it, even in the face of our recent challenges. Thanks for the explanation, let's proceed. A server came around and poured us glasses of a cloudy-looking liquid that I recognized as Kevich. It was the first time for me to make the opening remarks for the bond deal discussion. Gibbo. The success of our whiskey wine deal and a resort investment has paved a solid path for us. I'm excited to continue on this trajectory. As am I, Your Majesty. You'll be glad to know that Swordland's opinion of Rizia has risen considerably since those deals were made. That's great to hear, Mr. President. The deals have had quite the impact on Rizia as well. According to reports from our treasurer, our alcoholic beverage industry has witnessed a double in commerce, accompanied by a significant uptick in consumption metrics. The tax revenue has been substantial, though not as much as it would be if our wine exports were not limited by Rizian whiskey demand. She gave the Sword's delegation a pointed look. Venus spoke up hesitantly. I will say that not everyone in Rizia has been on board with the increased alcohol consumption. The Galkandist community in particular has reservations. Galkandists say, well, there's no pleasing. We're keen to know that the current economic situation of the Kingdom of Rizia, our recent research and inquiries haven't been fully answered. I do know that your treasury has been seeing a significant influx of funds lately. Money that sits around is money wasted. Nobody wants that, not even the Golden Kingdom. Additionally, Rizia energy output seems to be historically low at the moment. We can't do much about that right now, but perhaps today can be a stepping stone towards a lucrative agreement in that direction. You've done your research, Mr. Manger, but only I and my council know the full picture. You know best, King Ramus. I have complete faith in your assessment. There was a pause in the discussion as the first course was served. It was a deconstructed version of Leshaven-style Lorsha, hot seafood stock poured over clams, mussels, and cubed raw salmon. We'd been eating for a few minutes. President Alfonso cleared his throat. So what we're offering Rizia is the chance to purchase Swordish government bonds with a 4-year maturity at excellent rates. Despite the current recession, we're on the path to economic revitalization, thanks to a significant investments being secured from Kinal and Raqqa, as well as our progressive policy reform. As you're already aware, a key aspect of these reforms is to... Oh, hang on. Is to further privatization of crucial sectors, including energy. Gasm is at the forefront of this transformation, and it's poised to play a central role in our recovery. This bond issue is a chance for Rizia to not only make financial gains, but also diversify its economy. Could you elaborate on what these might be? Gladly. Given my chairman position with Gasm, we can explore investment opportunities in energy. Let's say preferential access to energy resources and shares, as well as a chance to be a part of Gasm's revitalization, which I'm actively steering. An interesting proposition. We must carefully analyze how it aligns with Rizia's energy security strategy. By making Gasm more competitive and efficient, we're not only boosting our own economy, but also enhancing the security and potential returns of your investment. If this bond deal and Gasm's plan succeeds, it could indeed unlock significant advantages for Rizia. A prime example would be the potential reduction of import taxes on Rizian goods. Sounds promising, but I'm concerned about your elections. How can you be so sure this isn't just a fleeting partnership? We're not looking for a quick fix, but a sustainable connection between Swordland and Rizia, regardless of who leads. We can move ahead with more details. So far, this has all been reassuring to hear. What are your thoughts, of your Majesty? Our nations have already established a mutual trust. There is not much doubt in my mind. Excellent. We too see this bond investment as an extension of our continued partnership. He ignored Elna's offended look. I'd like to move on to financial specifics of our government bonds, focusing on the returns in Rizian guilders. I'll break it down for you. We arrived today with 2 bond proposals, one large and one small. Based on your current treasury status, I'd say you go with our bigger, better proposal. Invest 12 billion Rizian guilders now, and your returns will be through the roof. We're talking about a budget increase of upwards of 36 billion guilders over the bond's term. You'd be tripling your money. While the prospect is appealing, I'm inclined to err on the side of caution. That's an ambitious forecast, Mr. Mank. Consider the concept of risk diversification in economic theory. My hotkeys keying again? Nope. Investing in Swordish bonds could spread your risk while contributing to our mutual economic benefit. Gus took a quick sip from his glass of Swordish wine. Now, considering a more cautious investment of 3 billion Rizian guilders, the potential returns in the case of successful economic recovery are very impressive. If our projections are accurate, Rizia could see its investment grow to about 9 billion guilders. Not as much as if he'd invested more, but nothing to sneeze at. It might also pave the way for deeper economic cooperation, should this venture prove successful. Exactly. Once you've gained a foothold in the Swordish economy, the sky is the limit. A larger investment in our bonds would build upon the trust we've already established with our trade and resort deals. It could magnify potential returns for you. A larger bond investment does seem like a good way to leverage the momentum we've built. As the restaurant continued its gentle orbit, our second course arrived. It consisted of an airy sheep cheese mousse between 2 sheets of crispy pastry, garnished with rainbow of fresh herb and edible flowers. I think this is supposed to be svabli, Your Majesty, a whole sword specialty, though it's not usually this flowery. He cleared his throat. The question now is, where does Rizia see itself in the future? As a regional power in South Mercopa, or are you aiming for a more global presence? Extend far beyond our existing ties of Rumburg and our monarchies. Alfonso smiled. That's what I want to hear. I know you harbor family ties to Queen Beatrice, but to be frank, strengthening trade with other nations, especially ones with dynamic liberal economies, will be far more beneficial for you than sticking with Rumburg. There may be even come a time when you don't need grace at all. Vina hurriedly made an effort to change the subject. No matter what, we Rizians do see ourselves as an influential force. Our culture, our resources, our strategic position, all that matters in Mercopa and beyond. Elna smiled at her approvingly. Very true, Your Highness. But diving headfirst into the global arena demands a robust economic foundation. We should ensure our internal stability before expanding our footprint. Your caution is prudent, Miss Warner, but I believe in dynamism of capitalism. It thrives on bold moves and calculated risks, as perfectly exemplified by the offer we're bringing to the table. What do you say to this new opportunity, King Ramus? I made my decision. It's your final call, Your Majesty. A large bond investment. A bold move, Your Majesty. It signals Rizia's faith in Sordland's economic resurgence, and so begins a new chapter in our relations. I promise that your faith will be rewarded. I'm Triplicate. I trust your analysis, Mr. President. I'm counting on Sordland to make sure the move doesn't disrupt Rizia's long-term economic stability. Even if the investment doesn't work out, we've built a deeper connection between Rizia and Swordland. If I may say so, that alone is a feat. A sense of triumph filled the room as the news of my decision circulated around the table. The third course arrived amidst the celebratory atmosphere. It appeared to be take on a Bergia Zabwa with medium-rare grilled sliced beef atop a silky chickpea puree. Gus put his fork down with a frustrated groan. I do apologize, this meal was supposed to give you a taste of the real Swordland, not some hoity-toity millionaire's idea of it. I think it looks delicious, Mr. Menger. Oh, it certainly is, but it's nothing a Bergian grandmother would recognize. Anyway, Lorenzo reached under the table to pull out a bottle. This dish would go wonderfully with a sip of Ramus the Red, a preview of the new Contuavo vintage before it hits the Swordish market. He poured glasses for Alfonso and his minister. Both men gave murmurs of appreciation. Vina turned slightly green as she looked at the bottle. None for me, thank you. Be careful, gentlemen. Consumed in sufficient amounts, this wine has been known to act as a truth serum. She and Lorento shared a conspiratorial smile. The Swordish minister looked pointedly at my own glass of kebbage. Aren't you going to try our national drink, Your Majesty? Of course. Sorry, I was distracted by all the stimulating conversation. I took a sip. The liquor burned my throat as it went down. As the final course was cleared away, the setting sun cast a warm glow over the table. President Alfonso stood, glass in hand, and turned to me with an inviting smile. To new and bold ventures, may our large investment mark the beginning of another golden era. Yes, a toast to ambition and progress, to Rizia and Swordland thriving together. I'll drink to that. The applause that followed the toast gradually subsided, and the atmosphere buzzed with animated conversations. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a beautiful array of colors across the sky, we began preparing to leave. The evening air was crisp, and the city lights began to twinkle as we journeyed towards the Maroon Palace for the evening party. We do not want to hit that end button just yet. Low military equipment stockpile is chill. Rizia makes a historic 12 billion guilder investment in swords and bonds. The Kingdom of Rizia has committed 12 billion Rizian guilders to purchase 4-year bonds from Swordland, demonstrating robust confidence in Swordland's economic recovery. Financial experts predict potential returns could triple the initial investment, adding 36 billion guilders to Rizia's budget over the bond's term. This investment reflects the kingdom's acumen in international finance and its commitment to strengthen economic ties with Swordland, emphasizing this mutual benefits and closer collaboration. Rizia's major financial leap. In a significant economic development, the Kingdom of Rizia has invested 12 billion Rizian guilders to Swordland's 4-year bonds. This substantial commitment is predicted on a strong belief in Swordland's potential economic rebound. If successful, the investment could triple, drastically augmenting Rizia's national budget. This move is not only a major financial decision for Rizia, but also a key indicator of the evolving economic dynamics between the two nations, showcasing Rizia's confidence in the regional economic cooperation. Purchase a 4-year Swordish government bonds. High-value Swordish government bond. Alright, folks, let's invest. Sell the first batch of ships to market. A directive is issued for the sale of excess naval vessels to the international market. My authority. Build the Zapna Dam. Ooh. The Crown decrees the construction of the Zapanya hydroelectric dam in the verdant region of Brennus. A project set to unfold over multiple years, the finest engineers will be commissioned to oversee its development, ensuring both efficiency and long-term stability. Upon completion, this dam will strengthen our national energy capacity while fostering regional growth through employment and infrastructure expansion. House Suzerain stands to benefit significantly, reinforcing bonds between monarchy and the region. There's a Zapanya. Putting a dam right there. Making a lake. Readiness to harness the power of water. Hydroelectric dam starts construction. In a new decree, our king has set out a vision for diversifying the energy supply of our country away from relying on gas. While the administration stated that the gas industry will remain of vital importance, it announced with great fanfare the construction of a hydroelectric dam near Zapanya. The dam is expected to be able to provide not only the city of Zapanya, but also much of Iza with energy once completed. A vast reservoir lake will be created between Zapanya and Eleanor's, propelling water through 9 state-of-the-art turbines. 9 state-of-the-art turbines. A network of canals and waterlocks will bypass the lake, ensuring inland shipping won't be hindered by the project. Alright, then we have to develop the Havas coal mine. By laying the foundation for the Havas coal mine, the kingdom stands on the brink of unlocking vast coal reserves, ensuring a sustainable energy supply. Sparking economic activity through new employment opportunities, the envisioned project has the potential to bolster our industrial sector, enabling further growth and development within Rizia. However, prospective environmental and social challenges loom, necessitating prudent management, forward-thinking policies to preserve ecological and societal balances as we stride towards economic prosperity. I'm fucking out of money. They want me to invest. Build the Benevon Ruchist Sanctuary. I don't have any money. Unless it's all authority. Hydroelectric dam. And then the Havas coal mine. Going up. Going on bones. Sometimes. The government has authorized construction of a new open-pit coal mine near the city of Havas. Located in Cardes Monteclar province, vast reserves of coal were discovered there recently, and its location near major waterways will hugely ease the transport of precious resources across the country. The construction and operation of the mine is expected to generate much economic activity, with countless new jobs created in the area. The Crown also stresses that it's taking environmental concerns into consideration, with state-of-the-art groundwater monitoring to ensure waste from the mining operations will not negatively affect neighboring farming enterprises. Okay. Now we need to build the Benevon Ruchist Sanctuary. The Benevon. A decree is issued to construct a second Ruchist Sanctuary in Benevon, accommodating spillover from the Arch Sanctuary and furthering the town's reputation as a key area for Ruchist thought. The sanctuary will serve as a center for philosophical discourse and personal enlightenment. Where is Benevon at? There it is. Found it. Spiritual legacy expands. The kingdom has begun construction on a new Ruchist sanctuary in Benevon, further strengthening the province's role as a center for religious and philosophical thought. Located across town from the Arch Sanctuary, the new building will provide a modern contrast to the Arch Sanctuary's historical atmosphere, with a sleek facade and minimalist design. Once completed, the sanctuary will serve as a beacon of spiritual reflection and intellectual growth, ensuring that the teachings of Saint Ruick will continue to guide future generations. Under His Majesty's leadership, the kingdom remains committed to preserving the sacred tradition. Mass political amnesty for anti-monarchists. This is optional. Morello will demand it in the future, so it's your pick if you want to do it now or later. Mass political amnesty for anti-monarchists. Mass political amnesty for anti-monarchists, huh? Oh shit. The kingdom declares a mass political amnesty, allowing non-noble individuals previously imprisoned or exiled for political offenses to return. Those granted amnesty must swear loyalty to the crown and commit to the law and order of the state. And if any of these individuals are found guilty of high treason or similar severe offenses, they will face the harshest criminal punishments. This decree aims to promote national reconciliation while ensuring that those given amnesty are held accountable for future actions. His Majesty grants political amnesty. You've never seen anybody go bankrupt in Suzerain? I go bankrupt all the time when I play Swordland. Well, I don't get the bankrupt ending, I guess. I usually get military overthrow. I usually get shot. In a remarkable act of clemency, His Majesty Ramos Torres has granted amnesty to non-noble political prisoners, reaffirming his commitment to unity and national reconciliation. This decision allows those who once opposed the monarchy to reintegrate into society under the condition of sworn loyalty to the crown. By extending this opportunity, His Majesty is demonstrating both strength and wisdom in securing lasting stability to the kingdom. Reform or diplomatic strategy? King Ramos Torres has granted a sweeping amnesty to non-noble political prisoners, including those imprisoned during his late father's reign. The decision comes amid ongoing diplomatic negotiations with Morello, mounting pressure from nations advocating for civil rights. Analysts suggest the move could be a strategic effort to bolster Rizia's standing among its allies, particularly Morello, which has long pushed for release of dissidents as a prerequisite for closer cooperation. Human rights organizations have welcomed the amnesty. Skeptics question whether it signals real political change or calculated political diplomatic maneuvering. The gas field is almost done. Probably next turn. And then we need to legalize drugs. Yes, dude! Yes. Legalize illegal substances. Oh my god, I'm drained of all my resources next round. Holy! 13-11, though. The state, in a landmark decision, decrees the legalization of substances previously classified as illegal. This transformative policy is aimed at reducing the burden on the judicial system, undermining illicit trade, promoting responsible use through regulation. Funds formerly allocated for enforcement will be redirected towards education, addiction treatment programs, and public health initiatives. This measure recognizes the shifting societal perspective on substance use and prioritizes harm reduction. And so it shall be. Okay. Legalized recreational substances. Recreational narcotics soon to be available. In a radical change of policy, the palace has announced a limited legalization of certain illegal substances, including, but not limited to, the notorious yish-yash and rat spice. Rat spice? Oh shit! This drastic change of approach follows growing international consensus that harm reduction and removing narcotics from the illegal circuit leads to less violent crime. Funds usually reserved for cracking down on the drug trade will now be diverted to education, addiction treatment programs, and other public initiatives. Only licensed healthcare professionals like pharmacists and doctors will be allowed to sell these newly legalized narcotics. Rizzi's neighbors worried about drug legalization after Rizzi's drastic move to legalize an expansive list of illegal substances, including infamous drugs like yish-yash and rat spice. Some countries in the region have expressed their dissatisfaction with the kingdom. Fear exists that Rizzi will become a safe haven for smugglers and turn into a distribution system for the entire region. Space crack if I ran as president, of course. Dardia, which in recent years has struggled with drug influx from Agar, warned that it's considering putting travel restrictions on Rizia in place. Alright, that's turn 4. Turn 4 done. Let's see what gets completed next turn. I don't think the borders... That's mediations, brother. That's mediations. Oh, a lot of the border towns got done. Energy's finally back up to +1. Alright. I'm going to call it here, actually. We did a full turn. I think each one of these streams is a full turn. Every single Suzerain turn is like a full stream. Which is kind of chill. The bankrupt ending next week? That would be awful. Shoot myself in the head, man. Alright, everybody. Alright, everybody. That's Sunday. That's Sunday. That's Suzerain Sunday for now. Oh! I'm gonna go eat dinner, and then I have to send out a bunch of fucking texts. And then I'm hoping to get, like, some chores done tonight. I'm hoping to start writing for the video again, because I've been putting it off, because I've been writing political theory. You know? How would I rate this week? Busy. My next week is going to be even busier, because I'm also working 36 hours next week, not the usual 29, because I picked up somebody else's shift. With that being said, I think I'm going to take off. I'm going to go eat either a cheeseburger or a pizza. I should get some produce in me, but I'm kind of fucky. You know how it goes. I hope everybody has a good night. Goodbye, everybody. I have to remember... somebody shoot a message in the Discord to remind me to make a schedule for this week as well. Good night, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye, Johnny.